Yeah. Could y'all like the video? See, the reason why my notifications isn't going out is like as soon as my live stream start, motherfuckers start flagging the shit. I don't know why, but that's just where we at. Let's give a couple minutes for people to come in, so that way I can explain to you what's happening and the reason why no one wants to go on X's platform to go debate, and the reason why all these trolls show up to a debate because that was not a debate. What's going on, Wacky World? Oh, I'm trying to find a place to stop. That way we can get Mike V up in here. So that way we can quickly go over what you just seen. I'm not going to go over the whole debate. I was thinking about doing it tomorrow night, but I'm not going to do that. But you need to know what's happening. So that way you can see how you can literally win any debate with Fantastic's debate strategy. And I fuck with Fantastic. I do. But any debate coach or any debate at a university would have stopped that debate and be like, you lost the debate. Anywhere. Nah, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Hold on a second. Uh, 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 uh. Yeah, let's give a couple more minutes for some people to get in here. Yeah, because this is a problem in Black America, and it's a Black American problem. Mike V, the actual link is in the chat, so if you want to hit it, come up. Renaissance Man, the link is in the chat if you want to come up. Wacky World of O, links in the chat if you want to come up. So that way we can pretty much explain what's actually going on here. And it's just wild stuff, man. Get off the highway to the next exit, so that way we can be able to have this show. Yeah, what's going on, Rand?
Hey, what's up, MOT?
Yeah, I'm trying to stop on the next exit, but
I know that had to be painful to listen to.
No. It was actually great to listen to because people need to understand what's going on here whenever they look at a debate. And I fuck with Fantastic. However, you can't deny a problem that's clearly there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the outcome and disparities when it comes to law enforcement and all that, and everything just turned into a Thomas Sowell or 1970s style conservative talking point based thing, where they kept changing the actual grounds of the argument to something that isn't the topic. It always go back to that. And I'm gonna go back through on Proper Thought series channel, and everybody who voted for Fantastic, I will be blocking from my channel, even though I do fuck with Fantastic. I don't want none of them Fantastic niggas over here.
Now, I was
Because
gonna say
yeah,
that's the other thing. You don't even have an objective judge panel. Like that's the thing. If you want to make it a real debate, you got to bring in people who really don't even have too much knowledge of the topic, so they're not biased either way. And then all you have to listen to is the debate itself.
yeah.
Because you
I
got,
mean,
like you said, you got trolls who just show up over there.
yeah, yeah. Because I want to hear some analysis, not just a vote. I want to hear a point-by-point analysis of why he won. Because the only thing he did, he just kept changing the ground of the conversation. This is why it only took 2 articles. Because everything became a whataboutism, to abortion, to black-on-black crime. Dude, all that shit has been done in the 70s. This is why those people stay in conservative spaces. Because they called up those method actors to come on TV and say that shit in conservative spaces. They would never allow the motherfuckers outside of those spaces to do that shit on regular TV.
Yeah,
Regular TV, they would never allow them dudes to do it. They used to allow for a while, and then they understood what that they were doing because they were paid props, pretty much hired to specifically do this, and then they just not allowed them on. Or even if they did allow them to speak, they was in a corner where you couldn't challenge them. Like when Herman Cain was still alive and he had his radio show, you couldn't just call up and challenge Herman Cain. Your ass was screamed before you came on.
Yeah, you can't do that with most shows. I think Joe Madison, he claims he doesn't screen his callers, which he does get a bunch of trolls.
Man. Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, people? What's going on, guys?
Yeah.
What's up, Wacky?
Yeah, Wacky, what's going on?
What's up?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that debate in its entirety, but I believe the situation between Fantastic and the other guy, it started on one of Fantastic's panels when
what?
the disagreement started in Fantastic's panel.
Oh, okay.
About it started in Fantastic panel, and then it just resonate into the Prophet of Thoughts channel because I guess Fantastic challenged the other guy to a debate.
Village Arsonist.
Yeah. I'm not going to mention that idiot's name, even, but and how it started is because I guess they on one of Fantastic's panels they disagreed when it came to that topic, but
really?
the other guy, he kept being disruptive. So Fantastic said, okay, Fantastic had to bounce him off the panel and just settle it and say, hey, listen, I'll just shoot you. You could shoot me an email and we debate about this one-on-one. And that's what started this. From what I could see, that's what started that debate between him and the other guy.
Okay, but but there is no debate on this topic and issue and subject by actual the articles that he brought up. Like, I was in the military and I was a police officer, and guess what? There are white supremacist motherfuckers openly in that motherfucker. Openly. You can tell by the tattoos and every fuck thing else. They come from Oklahoma and West Texas and all that shit. Were they disruptive soldiers? No. But if you gave the motherfuckers a chance to use force, they always went overboard. Depending on who the clientele was. Every single time. And some of these dudes got hired in Boulder PD, Aurora PD, and Denver PD. Some of the worst fucking cops in the military, and they ended up on the police force, and you'd be like, oh, look at there. Oh, okay. Yeah, I could have told you that guy would have did some shit like that. But it's like, listen, there are 2 issues here. The racism isn't personal. Like people's personal racism, I'm actually okay with. I'm okay with your private biases. Now, once your private biases started getting on court, on actual panels with judges and district attorneys and shit, that's where your racism become political and it can actually hurt somebody. Like, people don't understand racism is a political thing. It isn't a person saying XYZ thing. Do you have power to act on it? Do you have a level of power, a system in place that's going to protect you no matter what? Yeah,
that's what a lot of these conservatives fall into the trap of. They think if someone does not call you the N word outright explicitly, or they're not burning a cross on your yard, that racism doesn't exist. The whole idea of systemic, or like you said, someone with biased views using a position to enforce those views on people goes over their head.
Yeah.
You know, but
I go ahead. Go ahead.
It's like I no longer argue with people when it comes to whether or not racism still exists, because to me it's like arguing whether or not oxygen exists. You know, whether or not if I turn the light switch on, the light is going to turn on. You know, I'm not going. You know, I'm tired of debating with people over something that's very obvious. You know, there are so much studies and statistics to prove that racism or systematic racism still exists and still functions. I mean, one example of that is the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Committee or Commission, whatever, the sector of the federal government to ensure that equal employment exists all throughout America, has thousands upon thousands of cases of racial discrimination every year of racial discrimination in corporate America. I mean, so that means the federal government itself is admitting that racism exists. So you could bring upon these black on black crime statistics. No disrespect to Mr. Fantastic. You know, I fuck with him too. No disrespect to him, but you could bring, it doesn't matter how much statistics you bring when it comes to so-called black on black crime or what have you. The fact of the matter is racism on a systematic level still exists, and it's very obvious. So to me, it's like, what is there to argue? I'm not going to argue the obvious. I'm not.
No, I mean, because when you argue the obvious, it just turns into trolling. Like you have to understand that. Yeah, people in the chat who are saying that XYZ deserve XYZ stuff, even during the debate. You seen them. But at the end of the day, wait, hold on a second. Thanks for the $2 super chat, the glorious one. I can't read that. Could y'all read that? I can't read that.
Yeah, he said, peace to the panel, peace to the chat. Great point, MOT.
Yeah. It's just that this isn't a right or wrong thing. It's a whether it exists or not. And if it doesn't exist, when did it stop? I mean, so we got to stop changing the grounds of the conversation to whataboutism. What about Chicago? What about the abortion rates? What about this right here? I mean, because guys need to understand how the Gish-Gallop fallacy works. It's called the Gish-Gallop fallacy. And since most black people are so fucked up in the head when it comes to processing information, they can only accept it through trolling. And they love to see people who are making a point get drowned out by somebody who's not making a point. Because, hey, if it doesn't exist, it was up to him to say when it actually stopped.
But you see, that's the problem with the crossfire round, is you got to have structure to it. You can't let someone overtalk each other or anything like that. I did debate when I was in high school. Your crossfire round was literally you went 1-for-1 on questions. He asked a question, you're supposed to answer it. If you don't answer it, it's going to look bad to the judges if you try to duck and dodge. And you exchange, but you can't overtalk each other.
Yeah, like,
or just shout the person down.
Yeah, like what people think the debate is like the Trump Biden debate, the very first one. That's what they've been programmed to thinking that's what debate is. The person who could get up there, who could do the most ranking and trolling and shit wins. And it's like, bro, listen. Give me any college professor who does debates. You sit down and play that tape in front of them. And I want to be there. I got money on it. Nobody thinks that you won the debate. Because you didn't stick to the points. And everything just came to black on black crime. Like listen. Black on black crime has nothing to do with how the government responds and uses force. You can't say because you've done so many killings over here that we get to kill people over here because you don't have these numbers under control. And it's like when somebody makes that point, they should lock your ass up in prison the moment you make that point. The moment you make that point. Because in other countries, they would even have your ass around and be like, well, I got free. No. Your freedom is talking about something that shouldn't be, because these people are specifically going for power that they well intend to use. Did we not see a black chick that gets slammed on her head or something like that
Yeah,
by a cop?
that was like a high schooler, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
14.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Could Fantastic tell me in 100% of the cases that that would have happened to a white teen, an Asian teen, a Latin teen? Like, no, dude, it happens because they can get away with it based on who the clientele is, and that's when they choose to use force. Like
But you know what?
me, yeah,
You know what,
yeah, go
MOT?
ahead,
But if something
yeah,
like that did happen, I saw this happen when I was in college. There was a girl, there was a guy I was friends with, and his dad was a big lawyer, um, in one of the major cities, and his sister was actually out, and she was in the wrong. The police officer, was trying to arrest her friend, and they had drinks in their hand. She slapped a drink out of her friend's hand. Police officer grabbed her, arrested her, was a little bit rough, left some scars, bruises on her. He had to go bail her out. He said the next day, the police chief of that police department literally called his dad and was like, pretty much like, "Hey, we know we messed up. Can we try to settle this off the record?"
yeah,
Like that. That's the type of things. If someone does make a mistake like that, that's the type of way they're going to deal with it. It's going to be like, okay, we messed up. How do we make this right? And that police officer may even be disciplined.
oh sure. But at the end of the day, the police discipline themselves, and that's kind of part of the problem. Like when you go to other countries, okay, let's say Germany. When I was stationed over there, they used to have us ride around with, like, the German policy to, like, read people rights in American or English before they get their ass whooped by the goddamn policy. Now, policy, extremely professional, never rude to anybody. But if they pulled your ass over for a DUI, your ass was good for the shit. There was no two ways about it. But at the end of the day, the police were in the barracks. They didn't get to just go strolling down people's neighborhoods and all that kind of stuff. So it's a use of force thing. And these people go above and beyond and overboard on purpose so that way they can get even more power to start going overboard on things. And people don't understand how case law works. The stuff they get away with, they're going to go overboard. They're going to go to the Supreme Court because it's going to get challenged there, which is where it should be going, not to Benjamin Crump. So that way you can get these type of things overturned, because these things are unconstitutional levels of force. And admitting that racism still exists don't make you a weak person. Don't make you a weak dude. Me and my success level, dude. I see the shit. I see them click up and code up and shit.
But
I see it. Yeah.
But that's the problem. I think people get it. I think they get it mixed up in the sense of that they look at it as, okay, if I admit that racism exists, then somehow that's a bad thing. I look weak, and I'm like, no. Especially being military, the last thing these people should understand is that you don't want to go out on the battlefield without a plan and knowing the environment. So even if you say, hey, racism exists, that doesn't mean you have to go hide in a corner. It's okay, this exists. This is how you need to move and operate in certain situations so you don't, put your life in jeopardy. It's more dangerous to run out there and say, oh, it doesn't exist, and then you go out there and do something stupid, like, be up out at the Capitol, and then all of a sudden you're sitting in jail while everyone else is getting out of bail.
Yeah,
to me, I think it's. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
I think it's even weaker. I don't think it's weak to admit the obvious. I think it's weaker to deny the obvious. Because you look, no disrespect to anybody, but you look dumb when you deny the actual obvious. Like I said, in 2021, if you deny that racism still exists in the United States of America, it's like you're denying that oxygen still exists, and makes you look dumb. Once again, it's no disrespect to anybody who fits the description of what I'm talking about, but it's just the truth. This is why, with me, if someone tells me, especially a so-called black person, tries to argue with me and tells me that racism don't exist, I'm not going to invest my energy and time. I'm not telling you guys what to do. I'm just saying what I won't do. I'm not going to waste my energy and time trying to argue with that person. I'm not. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my time trying to argue the obvious. You know?
Yeah, I agree. Well, welcome to the panel, Mike B. Villagino. Nah, man. We're not calling people names over here, man. We are debating the issues and the topic and the subject. So nobody's gonna be saying anything negative about, oh, dude, I still fuck with him. It's just that I disagree with the point made, and I'm saying why. We don't need to call nobody names or any of that type of shit. You know, I don't attack people in the military or veterans or police officers or any other shit. So let's just try to keep it civil on this. Mike, what's going on, man?
Hey, peace to the panel, peace to the chat. Yeah, very interesting. They're still going actually right now. They extended it. People getting on the panel. My analysis on this is that the talking point that TVA brought was never challenged, despite the fact that he brought evidence. The FBI does say, and they're still saying right now, as they get prepared for impeachment trial hearings, that white supremacy, ideological thinking of a particular demographic of men in this country or people in this country, conspiracy theorists who believe that their country is being stolen from them and that they are infiltrating law enforcement, all sorts of agencies within the government, is actually the #1 domestic terrorist threat in this country. And that racism, if you go back to the Kerner report, the Kerner Commission report in 1969 or 1971 by the Kerner Commission, they basically said that all your problems, socially speaking, lead back to racism or white supremacy in itself, the ideology that's driving the algorithm of the issue. And so to say that, well, that's not the primary issue, kind of contradicts the state of things that are happening right now, and even what happened on January 6th. We played several videos of people at the event who specifically said, you know, that they felt that their country was being taken away from them because Black people were voting in Georgia, because Black people were voting in Michigan and Wisconsin. This isn't some kind of secret. This is reality.
Yeah, and he didn't even bring. I think he mentioned. I don't even know if he mentioned it at all. Brought up like the medical implications, or like housing, or those things. Things that are a lot more serious as far as you know. I mean, I'm not saying downplaying the police by any means, but I mean, healthcare. You're talking about life or death. You had that what was a Black female doctor.
You know, it cuts a whole bunch of different ways, man.
Yeah.
And so when we deny an obvious problem, we kind of can't even open up. Like, listen, no one can completely say that there's equal protection under the law. No one can clearly, conclusively say that. No one can say that. No one. So it's like, let's say that you do believe this. Then you have to provide proof of when it ended. And once you start adding all these other things to the conversation, you're not staying on topic with the conversation. So let's say that, does racism exist? That's a yes or no question. The conversation doesn't go to, but look at these bad stats in abortion or Black on Black crime. That has nothing to do with the primary question at hand. If you have the FBI in 2006, a Republican administration, citing an actual issue saying that these people were dangerous. They did have it during the Obama administration. Got a huge amount of blowback for it. And now you have the same thing under the Trump administration, 6 months ago. The reason why they keep citing it is because it's still happening. Like, Tornado Alley wasn't called Tornado Alley because there was one tornado in a specific part of the United States. The same problem kept reoccurring in an area over a period of time where they're like, oh, this is where all the stuff happens. Therefore, this is a consistent problem. Whether or not it gets solved, they're just pointing out that it's a problem. So when you make the point, like, what's the statistic? They can't study the statistic because no one wants to admit that it's real. If you don't want to admit that it's real, how are you going to investigate whether or not something is real if you want to deny the problem off rip. You can't even investigate anything like that. Okay, let's say that you don't even want to think that, I'm just saying outside the situation, that the influenza is real. And in order for us to study it, the person has to admit that the actual problem exists. That gives that person an inordinate amount of power over the situation because you're trying to convince one person of a problem that we all see versus we all see the problem and try to fix it and leave this person behind. That's how you have to be able to do these things because this is how the things are happening with kind of the COVID-19 thing because they can't digest the information or they don't believe the experts. They're waiting for their own personal press conference to explain to them what's going on. No one's going to do that because you're not that important to be kept in contact with what's actually going on. And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, you're not a stakeholder.
Yeah, but go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when you're not a stakeholder, you're not going to be privy on all the intricate details behind it. And so what I'm seeing here is people who are denying that the pandemic is real or that COVID is authentic, and also believe that the steal, stop the steal, also are denying that racism even exists, despite the fact that you had the president stand on stage and denounce, or was unwilling to denounce, white supremacy and the Proud Boys. And so to say that this isn't a major issue is the cornerstone of the party itself. But then you say that you're an independent, right? You're apolitical. That, well, I don't affiliate with those political ideologies, but all of your talking points come from that political ideology in itself, and almost from the social ideology of white supremacy.
Yeah, and I was going to say also, he didn't bring it up, but I sent that article, I want to say about a couple months ago, where they had a study internally where the Air Force itself said they had racism within the ranks. Just an internal study saying that they needed to correct
it. And also being in the military.
Your mic is away, MOT.
Oh, sorry about that. And also, everybody who's served in the military have seen a simple fact where one black dude would do something and get the book thrown at him and see another person do far worse than that and walk away with a write-up. I see somebody literally get somebody killed and walk away with a goddamn write-up, a letter of reprimand, versus somebody who did something way less than that and they end up getting an Article 15. You see this stuff all the time in the military. And guess what? It's normally based on race. And it's like, a lot of these people think that if they admit that there's a problem, that they're somehow so much weaker for admitting that there's a problem. Because they don't want to admit that there's a problem that they can't fix. Thanks for the $5 super sticker, Justin March. So the only thing that we're saying is that he's really not allowing people to have a real conversation on this panel because people with legitimate talking points end up keep losing debates, which is why no one wants to go over there, because you have to be able to regulate activity on the panel. Otherwise, it turns into Art Nostal all over again, because you have people who are stakeholders who have more information, but if you're not there to actually add to the conversation and you're just coming up with stats and statistics and I don't believe it no matter what, but you must believe my source. Like, dude, anybody can do that. And anybody can win a debate with that. Because you have to have a debate where everybody's equally involved. Because the question is simple. Does it exist? Yes or no? It's either yes, why, or no, why. And the yes, why doesn't equal yes, because all these statistics in Chicago with murder rate, that has nothing to do with the question. It never does have anything to do with the question. And it's like people keep getting away with making these type of arguments because it's easy. And it's nothing but trolling people whenever you're doing that. This is why these type of conversations don't happen on TV. And as soon as they go down that road, they actually cut you off. Mike, could
Yo,
you? Damn, I don't think I could do it here. But the what's going on our business? But the guy, the My Pillow guy, got thrown off of. I think it was One American News Network because he came on there hard charging with discredited factual information about the voter machines, and they had to kick the dude off the air.
Oh yeah, worried about a lawsuit.
Yeah.
What's
They
his
don't
name?
want none of that $1.3 billion.
Yeah. Giuliani and Sidney Powell already having to deal with those problems, and then you got Trump on the other end telling them to stop paying Giuliani. So you're gonna be left out to dry to pay for that lawsuit.
But you know, going back to these debates on Teapot's channel, you know, shout out to Teapot's, by the way, but also the audience, there's a lack of objective thinking within the audience, because in a debate, the audience, including the judges, well, Teapot's the only judge, well, the audience are the judges too, because they decide who supposedly wins the debate. The judges are supposed to just look at the evidence presented. That is it. And based on the evidence presented, the one with the stronger evidence to support their argument wins the debate. Common sense. And, you know, with these trolls that come on the panel and decide who wins the vote, it's like it all goes down to who's the most popular YouTuber and who has the most fans. Because of course, if someone is a bigger content creator, they're gonna have more of their subscribers come onto the panel and vote for them automatically. So, and this due to the audience having a lack of objective thinking, because they're only going to vote for who they like, regardless of who's right and who's wrong.
But that's how they go to the polls, Wacky. That's how they go to the polls. When they go down and vote November 4th, that's how they vote. They don't care if this guy tried to overturn the election. I'm going to vote for him anyways, while at the same time telling everybody else, go practice personal responsibility, Constitution this, and conservative that, and rainbow flags on the left. Meanwhile, you go to the January 6th rally and you see nothing but rainbow flags there, and not one video by these guys were made.
Whoa, Mike. I think you're making an assumption that these people actually went to the polls. Some of these people I don't even think did that.
Well, the people who stormed the Capitol most likely didn't go to the polls, but the people in the chat did vote for.
Or did they?
Well, we have to take them at their word, right?
Did they? did they early vote? Did they go stand in line like a bunch of Trump voters on the day of? Did they follow Trump's advices there, or?
Mm-hmm. I can't confirm that, but what I'm saying, I can only take them at their word. Go ahead, MLT, please.
All right, hold on. Again, this is not a shit talking session about Fantastic. We're being objective about what was actually discussed in the debate. We're not here to talk stuff about Fantastic. I cannot make that any clearer. If you have problems with him, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, a specific issue and analysis on the specific issue. That's why it says analysis. It doesn't say shit talking session about Fantastic. I still fuck with Fantastic. I just think that he's missing the point on this. Still fuck with the guy. All right. So we're not doing any of that over here.
No, my bad, MOT. I was talking about the greater manosphere as a whole.
No. We're talking about what's going on in the chat. So, but go ahead, Renaissance man.
Oh no, that's all I was saying. I thought you were talking about me, and that's all I was saying. I was just talking about the greater manosphere as a whole. Did these guys vote?
No. No, we're talking about the chat. If y'all recognize, the numbers are going up and down because a lot of people are realizing that they can't talk in my chat because I've blocked them. So
I'll put up a link to an article on the chat of maybe a good 10 minutes ago, speaking about something in the real estate called pocket listing, where I don't know if you guys are aware. I don't know if you guys are aware of what pocket listing is, but a pocket listing
No, I
is
haven't. Yeah.
yeah. Pocket listing is where when a home is for sale in a certain neighborhood, but it's purposely taken out of the MLS, and it's only spread around amongst real estate realtors and brokers, or those who are quote unquote in the know of this house. And it's been proven a lot of times that this pocket listing is racially motivated. And of course, they don't want, and when a home is in the pocket listing, it's because they don't want it to be publicly known to decrease the chances of a person of a quote unquote undesirable race to move into that specific property in that specific neighborhood. You know, so if there's an intent to keep a specific neighborhood within a specific racial spectrum, they do the pocket listing. And it's not illegal, but it's been proven to be racially motivated. And I don't know why it's not illegal, but it should be.
It's gonna be, even if it wasn't, it's gonna all have the effect, because if you think about it, if the neighborhood is already pretty homogenous, and you're gonna list this thing through word of mouth, and you already know how segregated American society is for the most part. I mean, it's just, even if that's not the intent, it's gonna have that effect.
Right. So, and I'm just stating that to further show how obvious racism still exists in America, even in 2021. It's obvious. Once again, it's obvious just as much as oxygen is obvious. You know, it's just too much evidence out there to prove that racism still exists, to the point of the fact that I'm wasting my own energy talking about it.
Yeah.
No
doubt.
It's an algorithm, and the algorithm keeps changing as you know, every single presidential cycle. So something new comes along to enhance the algorithm so that it perpetuates itself into infinity or into eternity. And so these sort of laws and these executive orders that are being signed are there to counter the algorithm. Just like in YouTube, if you don't want to see certain content, you click on the three dots and it says, do not show me this content. That's the sort of things that need to happen politically on both sides, where you have to outline what's impactful to the people, and try to truncate a lot of those sort of measures that's in place. But when you have people denying that it doesn't exist, even though the algorithm is well defined, how do you have a conversation with them, and how do you talk about working with those type of men?
Very good point. Very good point. But anyhow, guys, sorry to cut this convo short, but I do have to go. All right. You guys have a good night. And MOT, once again, thank you for inviting me. Peace to everyone in the panel, and peace to the chat.
Shalom.
All right.
Thanks for coming on, Wacky, man. You have a nice day, man.
All right. You too.
Yeah, you know, this is just kind of, you know, where we are. It's just that you have to realize what's actually going on when you're actually watching these debates. And now the actual will has been poisoned with the last administration. That's the debate style. That's the debate style that people want to see. And you should have seen some of the comments on Twitter and Facebook and even YouTube about, oh man, he roasted that dude. Oh, like, dude, it's supposed to be a presidential debate with decorum and following time constraints and all this kind of other stuff. But when you got a bunch of people together who don't respect the process, this is kind of what it turns into. And it's like, if we want to get somewhere objective, then we got to have objective-based conversations. And if we can't have them, then there's never going to be progress.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Renaissance.
No, I was just going to quickly say, in the same sense, when you were making that comparison to Trump's debate, you know, even Trump at one point, you know, refused to debate if they were going to cut his mic. That was his initial response is, hey, I'm not going to debate because I'm here to do nothing but troll, essentially. And it's like people have literally got that same mindset. If you tried to put something in there where you said, hey, you know, basically to cut the level of trolling out of the debate itself, you probably get that same response.
Well, that's what they said. It was censorship. You're censoring the president. You can't do that. You can't censor the president. You can't take away his ability to go on Twitter and things like. That's what they were saying. And so a lot of these guys think this way, and it's mostly men. I don't really see too many women really gravitating towards that. It's really black men who really feel that the Pookie logic is admissible in debate circles.
The whole argument with Trump and Twitter, I'm just like, that your argument would have been valid if Twitter would have came out the day after the election he won, said we don't like this guy, we're suspending his account.
Oh, most definitely. I mean,
that's censorship. Hey, this guy incited violence, and I'm worried about my platform being implicated in all this, so I'm gonna take steps to suspend his account. And by the way, I laid out rules in the first place of you can't use a platform to incite violence or spread misinformation.
And especially when you live in violation of it, they want the same rights that they have all the moments that they were violating it, up until the point to where they kicked off for violating it. So I was like, look, my freedom says I get to do whatever I want to do, even on your platform. And it's like, that's not how the freedom works. And it's like, in order to protect their level of freedom, they just don't even want to be concerned with learning anything. So it literally becomes a struggle trying to bring the person to the actual forefront of understanding what's going on, because maybe he doesn't understand what racism is. Racism, like dude, like you said, housing office, other types of things,
medical,
about
all areas of human activity is what the algorithm impacts. It's driven by the ideology. So it's two factors here. Racism is separate from white supremacy, but it works in conjunction with each other. I think what's happening in this space is that people have they're misinterpreting that the two are synonymous. And I'm saying you can have racism because in the Middle East they have racism, right? You have light-skinned Arabs who treat dark-skinned Arabs differently. But in America, that's the overarching fabric of the country. That's how the country was developed. The nation state was developed off of this sort of ideology that was driven through an algorithm. And so all areas of human activity that Black people participating will be impacted by this. And what these guys are saying is you shouldn't have to worry about that. And I'm saying, what world do you live in?
Yeah. I want to welcome to the panel the Village Arson. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? I agree. I think racism is ultimately a tool of the elite. You know, I don't dismiss classism at all, even as a conservative. I don't think that makes me any less of a conservative to acknowledge the fact that classism does exist. Now, I don't think the answer is necessarily, communism or anything like that. I wouldn't want to live under that sort of system. But to deny that racism exists is a problem. I just don't understand how people can say that this is not a problem. Now, is it to blame for all of Black dysfunction? Absolutely not. Is there a white man making these women go and get knocked up by these knuckleheads? No. Okay. But Black dysfunction is not to blame for, again, the federal government is even coming out saying, hey, these types are infiltrating government agencies. This is a national security risk now. So this nigga over here, Fantastic's trying to tell me, oh, no, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Mm-hmm. The federal government disagrees.
Well, VA, we don't want to keep the incendiary comments down about the guy. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that admitting that racism, like, I have a brother who thinks exactly like Fantastic. And he just retired from the Navy, and he now sees the racism that he denied to see all the other 23 years he was in the Navy, right? he now lives in the real world because you know high up. I think he was E8, and he just wasn't in the real world because in that world view where he's at, even admitting or even saying that racism is a thing could really put you in a bad light.
But I was
But
going to even ask you quickly, MOT, even in the sense of, even if you do see people, you know, punished differently, things along that line, yeah, at the end of the day, the military still provides you high housing. They still provide you a stipend, things like that. They're not going to say
sure,
you can't live on the base. Versus you get in the real world, people can say, "Hey, you can't live in this neighborhood."
Yeah,
hey,
because
hey,
the military is a communist system. It's
yes,
a complete
very much
communist
so.
system. And so when someone says, well, I don't think that communism is the solution, actually, communism was the solution. If you listen to Paul Robeson when he went to the Soviet Union, it's one of the reasons why he went to the Soviet Union.
Communism is just counterproductive to progression, dude. I'm sorry. When it comes to innovation, when it comes to technology, so
You
you
know,
cannot deny the effect that free market capitalism had on making America the superpower that it is. It was
no, I mean, you
innovation.
know
It was
that's a
invention.
separate issue. That's
That's
a
a
separate
separate,
issue.
issue from what is being said, right? You say
Yeah,
that communism isn't the solution, or you don't think that communism is the solution. In fact, a military is a communist institution.
it is 100%.
It's a communist institution.
Granted.
So what
Yeah,
I'm saying here is, like MOT's brother, you know, was on the base and couldn't be discriminated against. Those sort of parameters in
yeah.
place, those controls in place, prevent this sort of ideology that is permeating in the free capitalist society.
I mean, all that technology that they're using is a result of free market innovation, though.
What do you mean?
Yeah, but
The
What do you mean?
military. I mean, the
Military gets
military.
funded, right? They get
yeah,
funded. They don't
Right.
just come up with it
True.
on their own, right? They get funded. So if you ran the black community under the same guise, you would see the same productivity.
I
yeah, but
don't know
well,
about that.
yeah, but we're
Because
not advocating for
some
that.
blacks are more productive than others, man. We know this. Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
just like
no,
in the military, you have people
Hey,
who are more productive than others. Some guys are cooks. Some guys are naval nuclear guys technicians on a submarine.
yeah, and some guys are in IT, and some like like in the military, village arsonist. No matter how good you are at a job, you're still based on the rank structure. Me as a cop, I probably work 80 hours a week, waving people into the gate at 6 a.m. and waving their ass home or to lunch at 11:30, and then waving them out the gate at 4:30. Guess what? I'm still at work. And guess what my paycheck is going to be? According to my rank.
oh, wait, MOT.
Yeah.
Quickly, for someone like me not as familiar. So your job does not determine your pay. Your rank literally
No.
does.
Yes.
Oh, really? So two E4 is one that is a cook and one that is a
Whatever.
yeah. They all own
They're
make
going
the
to get
same
paid
thing.
the same thing.
Oh wow, I
Yes.
didn't know that.
Yes. That's exactly how it works. Yeah. Like reenlistment bonuses and all that kind of stuff aside, the basic principle and concept, that's exactly how it works in the military. Like, I'm not sure what his rank is in the actual Navy, but like an E8, no matter what he controls, it's still going to be an E8 unless he's overseas getting a cost of living allowance or in a war zone getting like what do they call that? Hazard bonus or something like that.
Yeah,
But
but the
but
fundamental principle is still you're graded
communist.
on your you're graded on your rank, not on your job title.
Correct. And guess what? If you need to go to the med squadron to get a checkup, they can't turn you down. Not like they can out here. Like out here, you could go and you could have insurance and you can still be charged back for it, and your insurance will try to not pay for it. But it's like that's the difference between like communism in the military and communism outside the military. It wouldn't work because you wouldn't pay a cop and somebody who's a nuclear engineer, even though it takes a certain, it could take less than, depending on what state it is. Like some states you have to be certified through like a community college to be a police officer, and some of them you just sign up, go through the background check, and you become a police officer. Like, you could become a police officer and that's a certain level of salary, but a doctor or even a med tech isn't going to make the same amount of money as a police officer. Like, there isn't the equal outcome that rank provides in the military versus out here in the civilian world. That's what we're kind of getting at, Village Arsonist. No, that's what we're not saying that we want to go to that type of system where cooks and people who perform janitorial services is going to be compensated the same as people who are actual doctors and attorneys. Hell no. We're not even saying anything like that. But yeah, we're just explaining both of the actual things and how it actually works. Oh, so is he still here?
Yeah, he's still here. I think he might be driving, but I'm just making the point that people push back against anything that's non-capitalistic and not understand that capitalism is the root of a lot of these issues. The private prison industrial complex is a part of the capitalist structure.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, especially when you add in like occupancy rates and all that type of stuff, and nobody really goes to jail for trying to sentence people for BS crimes and all that kind of stuff, which Biden is trying to shut down. Yeah, it's a problem. But guess what? If you have somebody with questionable background and morals who controls that actual system, hell yeah, that can be institutional racist for somebody to sentence somebody to an actual jail cell versus somebody getting counseling for the same exact thing. I personally think that the outcomes for criminal trials should be done by supercomputer. You put in a certain amount of inputs, and whatever the computer spits out, that's whatever it spits out.
But and that is possible. But if we refer back to Germany, if you were to do the same thing over there to Jewish people today, of what's happening in America to Black people, there are all types of consequences for that.
Oh,
but
hell yeah!
You can't explain that to some of these people in this social space because they think that, you know, freedom, the First Amendment allows these people to do whatever they want to do, and it's like, no, that's not how this works. They have constitutional rights, equal protection under the law. Why is this so hard for them to accept?
And businesses have terms and conditions to which you're going to use their product. They have acceptable use policies. Like look, inside your household, that's an acceptable use policy. Inside your household, you're going to be able to do this and run this way. Now, once you start connecting to other people's stuff, you have to follow their rules, man. It's really not that hard. And it's like, with the whole racism aspect, like, you have to have proof. And you can't just go, what about some bad statistic? That means that's not, like, you can't change the grounds of the argument. The grounds of the argument is it still relevant? The answer is yes. Until you can prove that it's 100% gone, and you just can't leverage bad outcomes to kind of throw off every point. I mean, it's something that used to happen in the 70s. You can see Thomas Sowell with that afro in the 70s doing the same exact thing on TV. You can see him doing that.
but here's the thing. For as accomplished as he is, you know, he is only, when you see him on these shows, he's only talking about race. You don't see them call him up to talk about just the general economy or, you know, the effects of, you know, a presidential policy, you know, in-depth analysis. You could argue he's made a career off of talking about race.
Yes.
And you can't tell me someone of his intelligence doesn't notice that pattern. He knows what he's being called in for.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, you know, you have people who on the right will say, oh, these people on the left, they're you know, they're poverty pimps, you know, they're just making money off of race. But I'm like, they only call you to talk about race as well. They don't call you to talk about your expertise.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's why I laugh about Larry Elder talking shit about guys like Al Sharpton. You're the same. Yeah, same person. It's just that one is allowed to talk in a room full of his equals, and the one is allowed to talk in a room full of his equals. It's the same thing. For both of those people in those circumstances, if black people were to up their game, neither one of them would have a position. Why? Because an actual cohesive group would never allow either one of those people
to leverage those type of positions against the entire group on both sides. And this is why I say they're culture warriors on both sides. They don't get how these people are the same. And a lot of these people have pretty much taken over, and now they're the new generation of Sharptons and elders without even noticing.
That's true. That's true. There are race pimps on, but now, I mean, we do acknowledge that race pimps do exist. You know, I do, but they do exist on both sides. And that's another one of the reasons why I call out these so-called black conservative cultural motherfuckers is because they refuse to call out stuff like that on your Candace Owens. Come on, race doesn't matter, but you're only called on to discuss race.
Racial issues.
They don't call Candace Owens for shit else.
Yes. A 40 million view video about George Floyd and how much you don't support that. No type of video on what happened on the Capitol yet.
Wow.
No video. No video. No, no video. No video. Because that's where the bread and butter is at. The bread and butter is about leveraging her skin color to make very specific points. And it's time that you start calling the people out in the media who did this. Because once you start doing this stuff, or once you have quote unquote white allies who do this stuff in the media, those people lose their position and jobs. Because there obviously are race method actors that they pull out, whenever something like these things happen, and they bring on those people to say ridiculous things. And they know what position that they're playing on the field. None of these people are stupid. But it's like, look, it's a problem until it not becomes a problem, which is everybody's responsibility to work towards. And I'm not saying go towards the race card because you're incompetent at your job, therefore you're being persecuted because you're race. I want that stuff pointed out too. So that way you don't have the people who have legitimate issues being like boxed out by these people who don't have legitimate issues. So I think that, look, as long as we got people who believe in equal protection under the law and then not weaponizing the law to make BS points against people, I think that we'll be in a better place. But what's not a starting point is ignoring the fact that it exists altogether. Like, come on, man. Nah, man, we ain't doing that.
I don't understand what, guys like the one I debated, I don't understand what he gets out of it, what guys like him. I mean, Candace Owens is at least getting a check out of this shilling. I don't understand. I think it's this whole, I'm a macho man, I'm a conservative, and I don't know what the fuck. I think it's just a lot. I think it has to do with this whole red pill shit. To be honest, I think it's just kind of.
No, it's not connected to red pill. No. The red pill is about truth, and once you're given truth, you make a choice. This stuff right here is about making a position that is unfounded. I mean, here's how you disprove points. You disprove points by saying racism doesn't exist because we got rid of the Fair Housing Act. We got rid of affirmative action. We got rid of all these other things. Now, all these other things wouldn't be in place if the government overwatch people exercising equal protection under the law. We wouldn't have all these things in place unless there's a problem. And it's to protect people if they could bring it to court, if they even report it whenever it happens. Because there's systematic ways that these things happen that people don't know. Just like you said, the pocket deal with the housing. I see people do the same thing in Denver. Whenever a house goes up for sale in Cherry Creek, there's not a single black person who has a shot at that house. That house is already being held, pre-bought by somebody else, and then sold to somebody else. They're not letting nobody over there. That's how they control their stuff. But it has to be pointed out that that's happening before it can be fixed. And most people don't understand that pointing out a specific problem doesn't mean that you subscribe to it. I don't deal with these race issues all the time, but can I see where it's possible that it can happen? Oh, absolutely.
Wait, MOT, Cherry Creek, that's not like downtown Denver like the historic, is it? Like historic part of Denver?
No, it's a different area.
Okay, I've been out there a couple times, but I'm not as familiar. But I do remember. I think I stayed at a hotel
Downtown
in
isn't
Cherry.
Cherry Creek. No, downtown is different from Cherry Creek.
Okay.
Way different. Even though they do got them super expensive ass lofts above the 16th Street Mall. I don't know why anybody would want to stay up there, but yeah.
Yeah. I went to the mall. I went to the mall while I was there, and I think it was 6. That's the one down there by. I think you got to go. Don't you go past Bronco Stadium to get there?
No. Bronco Stadium is way far west of that.
Okay.
No, it's kind of like a walking mall through like the whole downtown. So that's different. Yeah, way different. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to drop this link in the chat, for people who are kind of questioning the legitimacy of the statement about going into a different ism in terms of a going outside of capitalism. This is from Paul Robeson. Okay, let me just drop this in the chat real quick.
Are you a communist?
Am I a communist?
What?
No, I'm not a communist. So communism is actually a system, right?
Do you believe that would be the ideal system for America, communism?
Huh?
No, nobody.
No.
Thanks coming through. The game changer thanks coming through. Well, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just saying no, because he's asked me a question of whether or not I'm a communist. I can't be a communist if I'm not within the communist system. And so, no, what I'm saying here is Paul Robeson went to the Soviet Union, and if you read some of his work about how he was treated when he got there, and how he and enthusiastic he was about being there and not wanting to leave. Most Black men who went overseas, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, they all say the same exact thing that he said, and he wrote about this in the 1930s. And so we have to start to question legitimacy of what we're trying to uphold in this country. What exactly are we trying to gain from it? What exactly are we trying to uphold? Because I'm not saying anything about you. I'm saying the people over there are trying to uphold this system, while you're trying to argue that the system still has significant levels of racism in it. There was a pandemic before there was a pandemic, and that pandemic was racism, right? It was white supremacy. And so these guys want to uphold this system by denying that it even exists, because they don't want you messing it up for them by calling it out.
Yeah, equal protection under the law and expect for things to work at a minimum level. It's not communistic. It's just American. But you can't have a level of America going on with all these sabotage in the mind people taking arms behind government resources that can end up screwing people over with.
Right.
Like, yeah, so it's like communism, like I don't even think that's relevant, but it's just that they are fighting for a type of communism on their side. They're fighting for a unified type of two-tiered system that only works well for them, but don't work well for you under the same set of circumstances. So they're fighting for a type of communism on their side. Communism isn't over here. We're just trying to get people to respect the boundaries of law and the rule of order that they continue to keep trying to duck and hide behind whenever it's convenient.
We're trying to find a fair and equitable system, for everyone, that including Black people. Well, you won't have to have this conversation. You wouldn't have to have this conversation if the problem didn't exist in the first place. And so a lot of these guys think that 45 was somehow going to be some savior for them, and when November turns around and they find out this guy didn't win the presidency, they think that something is wrong. In reality, this is the way democracy works. Yeah. But they don't like that, right? Go ahead, Emily.
All right, TVA. So what we're talking about here is what I think personally communism is equal outcome regardless of input. That's what I think communism is, personally. So a doctor, and a person who sweeps the floor as a janitor both get equal housing in the same neighborhood. That's what I think communism is. It's equal outcome based relation type thing. But that's different than having a fair and equitable system that works for everybody. Working for everybody doesn't mean equal outcome. So when people go to areas that they're not used to having government services work for them equitably in their own country, of course that would be different for them as an experience.
Well, that is equal outcome. It's working equally for everyone, so it's equal outcome. Right?
Well, but it's not the same as communism. I mean, equal protection under the law doesn't mean an equal outcome that's equal to communism. It sounds the same, but it works totally different.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I'm not saying that I should have equal access to get to where I'm at. You have to work to get here, but any person can be able to get here. It's not guaranteed that you get here regardless of input. And people kind of push those two ideas together when they're separate, and it's like, as long as we come to the understanding of what these things are, there'll be a better idea of how, listen, we're obviously on different sides, yet we're having an equitable conversation because we're trying to get to a greater understanding. Nobody's yelling at each other. Nobody's doing all this other stuff, right? So it's like, look, we can sit down and have a conversation about where we need for this stuff to go. And a lot of people think that equal protection under the law is a type of communism. And they think that they have to fight against communism in every form, even if it is holding up systems that don't work for them.
Even if it is part of the Constitution that they're supposed to be upholding as a conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you look at Singapore, right? Singapore is probably the most ideal sort of social system in place, right? It's a technocratic socialist society. So the government pays 80%. It pays for 80% of the housing for everyone in the country. You're not even allowed to drive a car, right? You're not allowed to own a car for that matter. But your housing, your basic needs are all subsidized by the government. And they're probably, I think they're in the top 20 successful nations in the world. In fact, they're technological.
How was that sustainable without someone to take that money from? Who are they getting that money from?
Hey, man, that's those people over there. I don't give a shit about what's going on over there.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, if you're talking about paying for all of these services in general, they're taking that money from somewhere.
TVA. Mike is just giving an explanation. He's not saying it's ideal circumstances. It's something we should practice. Those are two separate things.
No. What I'm saying is the government up front takes care of all of these basic human needs up front. And so that you can spend more time focusing on innovation. You understand what I'm saying? And so they are a technological superpower for that reason. They don't have to depend on anybody. In fact, they defeated COVID or the pandemic long before the United States did, because they come up with a lot of their own resources and their own means. They handle things from a technological perspective. They have a one-party system that's in place. They allow for voting, but ultimately people who are in power are not putting power because they're white or something like that. No, it's based on skills. What do you bring to the table? That's how people get into certain positions. It's really dependent upon a lot of innovation that they can come up with as much as possible, because they have to sustain themselves. China wants to be like Singapore. To be honest with you, they don't like to have this sort of CCP system that they have in place. They want to be more like Singapore, where there's a lot more freedoms involved over there than it is in China, but they have less crime, right? The crime rate is significantly low.
Oh yeah, it's pretty much non-existent in Singapore.
Yeah, that's because the government takes care of most of your human needs. That's the way it should be done. Germany is the same way. Very low crime rate over in Germany, but they're a socialist state. Like we have to be realistic about what we're trying to fight for here, because what I'm seeing from Black men is they're very confused about what it is that they want, because they can't redress their the party that they're with.
Well, I don't think. I think it goes back earlier. Some of them are. The sad part is a lot of them are doing this because of women, and they're not even doing it from a one up. Hey, I'm going to improve myself so I don't have to deal with this situation. They're doing it out of bitterness and spite towards women, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're willing to work with domestic terrorists storming the Capitol to go against your own women. That's never going to be successful. You're never going to be successful doing that.
And your economics. You're literally if you don't like feminism, you don't like the women, that's fine, but you don't need to go and sacrifice your economics and your productivity in order to try to get back. That's not one trade-off for the other that you go make.
Yeah.
Especially if still being with those women is your end goal at the end of the day anyway. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's like, yeah. So it's like, look, if you're gonna leave these women all the way alone, it would make sense for you to go over there and just be over there for the male version of the party. That makes sense. Now that's totally different for people who held their nose and voted for Trump because they always have been a conservative the entire time. That's completely separate from what these saboteur conservatives are going over there for. They're going over there to saboteur the other side so that way they can be noticed. No, you get to be noticed when you start redressing the party, not being a saboteur for whatever issue you want to be a saboteur for. And it's kind of hard to get that through to people who don't understand basically how politics work. And most of the conversation is based on you coming with a studied idea, and you have to correct them everything that they say that comes out of their mouth, and you have to shoulder the side of your own opinion as well. While that person intellectually invests nothing, you're doing all the talking for both people. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, once you start making these people declare a side and making sure that they're invested by actually doing something, there are less and less of these conversations that we need to have. The reason why we're having these conversations is because people act like they're not on the side that we can clearly see that they're on.
I was going to quickly ask you, Village Arsonist, what prompted you to take this debate?
Well, Fantastic seemed like a cool guy. I just had to chew him out in chat before I left because he's silent, censoring people talking shit in chat. But it's cool to talk shit about me, so he's getting on some thin skin shit. But he can troll and shit. But I mean, he seemed cool, you know. But basically, you know, he's another one of these fake cultural black conservatives, and he tried to dance around it today. But he's been on Trump's nuts for 4 years straight. You watch his content. He's on that cultural conservative shit. He is. He just doesn't want to claim it now for some reason.
I mean, did you all have an exchange before, or this was like an extension of another debate?
Yeah, we were on a panel. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was the other day. I saw that myself, TVA. And I think, like I said, I think for me, the reason why I talk about this type of stuff, because I think about the overarching aspect behind it. I don't think about it within just the moment. I'm thinking 5, 10, 15, 30, 40, 50 years from now, how do you extrapolate and implement a lot of these ideals by redressing your government? A lot of these black male conservatives from what I've seen, don't want to redress their government or their party or their group. They will never go outside to one of those MAGA rallies and actually express, you know, child support's really impactful on me. Well, guess what? The people who are over there help implement that sort of system in the first place.
Yeah, no fault divorce, I believe, was Reagan. So I mean, you can't really. Again, you know, you gotta point out the people on your own side that are contributing to the problem. Pretending like, you know, my side is completely perfect. No, if you're not willing to weed out the people that are on your side that are making mistakes, that are spreading bullshit, that are clinging to things based on emotion and not logic and fact, you need to be willing to call it out. And some of these guys just, I don't know what it is. I think it's a gang mentality type of shit, us versus them. I don't know what the hell this is, but they're just not consistent. You know, again, they talk about how they love the Constitution, but then you point out case after case after case where they're just not consistent or principled when it comes to things like the First Amendment. Even when it comes to the Second Amendment, again, in both debates, I brought up Philando Castile. This is a man that supposedly supports the Second Amendment. Again, you watch his content. The guy debated. He talks about how he supports the Second Amendment and all this other shit. But when it comes to Philando Castile, silence, nothing to say. And again, this is a guy that will make content talking about A, B, C, D. This is how you get through a traffic stop when you get caught, when you get pulled over by the cops, black people. This is how you avoid getting killed. Again, Philando Castile did every fucking thing right. So when you make content like this and you make these claims and then you have a situation like that happen and you say nothing about it, what am I supposed to think?
I mean, because, well, you have to understand that a lot of people think, incorrectly, by the way, that the citizens are supposed to be more professional than the government. But only for certain citizens. While the government is supposed to be more professional than the citizens. And you're talking about police officers are trained professionals who decided to use their training or lack thereof training in a very specific situation that they knew they can get away with. Like, people don't understand. It's not a police training issue. It's an application of force based on a clientele issue. And you have to start locking these people up so that way they can understand. I'm like, okay, all right, you're an accessory to murder. Just like you help bury a body and people think that they're going to get out of that and they end up going to jail for the same amount of time as the person who pulled the trigger, you got to start putting these people in jail for what they think if it leads to somebody's death. Because otherwise there's no consequences, because these actual bad ideas turn into bad policies. But if you personalize it for them and their family, they get it. There is no way in the hell, if that guy have kids, I have no idea. There's no way, given the situation, that he would respect or respond to a police officer slamming his son or daughter to the ground if he has one. I don't know.
Absolutely. He would not be on some, well, you should have done such, and he wouldn't be on that bullshit.
No. I'm just fighting for the world that I want to live in the type of treatment that I want to receive in nearly all cases. Because that's what equal protection under the law is. Equal protection under the law is, it may sound like communism, but it's not communism. It's an expectation, it's an American right, and it's being taken away by specific people who don't want you enjoying that American right. That's all it is. It's not hard. Go ahead, Mike.
No, you just kind of explained my position that we're really looking for an equitable, fair, impartial sort of outcome. Something that works for everyone. There's no, you just had Citibank come out and say that because of racism since 2000, it cost the country $16 trillion. I mean, this is ridiculous for anybody to argue village arsonist's point. It's ridiculous.
What point do you mean?
The fact that racism infiltrating law enforcement and other agencies of the government is not a legitimate talking point to make in terms of the impact on Black people. I think that's absurd that anybody can argue against that.
Well, he's claiming that I'm apparently acknowledging that is somehow blaming whites for Black dysfunction. That's the point he kept making the whole time, and I never said that.
Correct. I mean, so what he kept doing is he kept changing the basis of what the conversation and the debate is about. Now, a debate moderator would have like, hey, We can't do this on the panel. This is what the debate topic is. You take this off topic, you can't be part of the debate. You lose. Point is, if your point is racism doesn't exist, why do we have all of these systems in place by the federal government that hasn't been disbanded that's based on historical problems that are happening? And at that point, you will either have to answer the question or don't. You have to understand, they have Republican and Democratic administrations that still staff these agencies to work whenever these things happen. There's still cases that are going through all these type of discrimination agencies. The point isn't on the people being affected to ignore it. The point is on the people who are actually engaging in the activity to stop it. When you don't have any type of consequences in place when people do these type of things, it keeps going. All they had to do was say, look, you get caught engaging in this shit, whether you are a business or whether you are a minion, you will go to prison for life if you get caught doing this shit. They would end it overnight. The only thing they need to see is guaranteed consequences when you engage in specific type of actions, and that's how you stop this stuff. That's how you stop it. Now, if we exercise that for 200 years, and you have a track record of this stuff going down or even stopping altogether, then his point would be valid. But we don't have that type of data set yet to where there's a track record of that.
Right. Yeah, to answer New's question in the chat, it was about, is it still relevant? Am I correct? Yeah, that was the topic. And I think what Village Arson is posted from the FBI was very relevant. It was only from 6 months ago, 2020. So how can anybody question the legitimacy of it? And it's coming straight from the source of the government, like an agent for the government.
That's 6 months ago. It's got to be right now. It's got to be within 2 days. And this motherfuckers talking about, that's from 2017. Like, yeah, it's been solved in 4 years. Yeah, dude. I mean, come on, man. So I tried to give as many sources as possible. Like I said, I also gave the Harvard Business Institute review or Harvard Business, I believe it's Institute review report talking about how hiring discrimination. And again, I'm not disputing the fact that black people are out here getting jobs. Absolutely. But
but that's changing the basis of the argument. That has nothing to do with the argument. All that stuff was a whataboutism that changed the basis of the argument. Because his point was, how can racism exist if black people are still getting jobs? That's not the argument. That's not the, like, okay, how can there be racism if the abortion rate's high? Again, not part of the argument. How can there be racism? Look at black on black crime and this type 1%, and it's like that's not part of the argument. And it's like you again, when you have an unmoderated, like debates have to be moderated. And if you don't have a moderated debate, it's just a one-sided food fight where the person who has the most style wins. Because I could guarantee you this. I want to see a panel full of analysis on how Fantastic won. That's what I want to see. I want to see panels on how Fantastic won. I want to see an analysis, point for point, them playing the playback on how he won the debate. Again, I don't think he won a debate. I don't think it's possible for him to win a debate not from that side. There's no way you can keep changing the level and the grounds of the debate because you can't debate the point or the topic or the actual irrefutable information that you pointed out that shows a track record that kept going back from Republican administrations without even adding Democratic administration, which I thought was pretty crafty, by the way. So you can't say it was a Republican
why I keep bringing up the 2006 report, dude. It's just showing a track record. You keep going in the past. Nigga, the report is telling you why they referenced the 2006 report because it's still a relevant problem. proving my point.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, what's going on, Melly? Yeah, but this is where we're at, man. It's just like, look, you can literally do this for every single point and topic that you actually debate. You can show up with no information, deny all the facts, and change the basis of the conversation. That's what the Gish Gallop fallacy is about. To just start loading up so much bullshit to where now we're not even on the topic that we originally started at. And it's like, well, I don't go over there for debates. I go over there for moderated discussions because we're not having these people vote because I'm not here for that. I care about outcomes. Outcomes take a while. Outcomes take an understanding of the issues and topics. And if you leave it up to style and changing the points of the argument, dude, you can win any debate. You don't even need to bring information.
The thing is, TVA, most of these guys who are claiming to be conservative just started 90 days ago. 90-day conservative, like 90 Beyonce, right? So what we're arguing, in our attempt to debate, we're also educating these guys on things they didn't know, right? I get called Marxist V, right? Because they think I'm a Marxist. They think I'm an advocate for, this sort of Stalinism of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. Like that's never been my position, right? I consider myself to be a progressive, right? I want social transformation, the best interest, so that Black people get the best outcome of the very system that they're partaking in, and that they're not being hoodwinked and bamboozled in the same system. A lot of these guys are okay with the way the system works currently. And I'm saying the way the system works currently is unequitable and unequal for Black people, especially Black men. Why would you want to maintain a system like that? Why wouldn't you want a public banking system in place so that the law enforcement that you're complaining about can't just siphon off all these funds? There's no reason why we spend only $9 billion on the National Institute of Health, but law enforcement has $150 billion budget. How is that possible?
Well, the thing about guys like Fantastic is that they will acknowledge unfairness in these family courts and all that, like men are discriminated against. But when you talk about these criminal courts and the racial bias that goes on there, all of a sudden, stop whining, stop bitching, that doesn't exist. So it's like, well, dude, you will acknowledge that family courts can have a bias, but when you got study after study, report after report, number after number showing, hey, there's a bullshit disparity going on here between how Blacks are sentenced and basically treated in these criminal courts versus how whites are being treated. I mean, it's just it's insane to me how they can acknowledge one but deny the other.
Right.
Yeah, it's just that if you come in to debate a specific yes or no question, you can't keep changing the basis of the argument. You can't. I mean, because if you do that, you literally can win any debate by style. And that's it. Like I said, I fuck with Fantastic, but I just like, dude, you didn't answer the question. You didn't refute the facts. You didn't refute the article. The article had callbacks in it between two different data points. That is irrefutable. I mean, he's in the military. No, he can see how Black people get hooked up for shit and whites get let off the hook. Am I saying that I want Black people to get a slap on the wrist? No. What I want is the system to work fairly and equitably with everybody who comes in contact with it, regardless of whenever they come in contact with it. That's it. Not hard. Like, look, when a police officer pulls somebody over, if your gun comes out of your holster for any fucking reason, I want you off the force. Because you have to have these people prove that you are scared. Like I don't believe in the police being afraid at work. Citizens get to be afraid too. If you have a track record of blowing people away and getting away with the shit, hell yeah. Somebody ought to think some kind of way when they pull over some bullshit ass fucking reason.
That's what they
Because
found.
most reasons that they pull you over are bullshit based.
Yeah, that's what they found in Massachusetts. That although black people make up a little over 10% of the population here, they make up 90% of the stops. Found that out during the Obama administration, and that there was justifiable reason for a black person to be scared of the police, that African Americans to be scared of police. Yeah, there would be, because they make up 90% of the stops. You really think people coming out of
go ahead.
Yeah, you really think people white people who work at Bank of America are coming out of there and being stopped and frisked? Really? You had Tim Scott, a Republican within the Senate, black Republican in the Senate, said, "Hey, I get stopped and frisked too. I get pulled over too." You think any of his white conservative buddies backed him up on this? Not hardly.
Well, another thing a lot of these fake ass conservatives don't speak on is civil forfeiture. That's another big problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. And they'll hit white people with that because they got the money.
Yeah, man. Tennessee, they pulling your ass over for no reason and they searching your shit.
Yeah.
They're looking for something.
They're bad.
Every time. Oh yeah, man. Like every time I rent a car and going from like, I drive my truck to Memphis, park it, and then I rent a car from the Memphis airport and take it down to the Delta. Every time you drive through that area and you want them, I tell them people, I want a car with Tennessee tags on it. Now give me a car that don't have Tennessee tags on it. Yeah, man. You get pulled over, you see that guy, and he just, hey, can I search your car? Sure, you can go search it. Yeah, I just took it from the airport. Yeah, I mean, because they're looking for drugs or money, and they take your shit and they don't give it back. You know who you don't hear shit from? Conservatives. You don't hear shit from conservatives when it comes to civil asset forfeiture. Nothing. And there's a lot of whites who get caught up in that shit. A lot of them. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a fair and equitable system where that shit is happening to nobody, no matter what, then they could just do what they want to. They're only okay with government overreach when it suits their own personal biases and needs. I don't want that shit happening.
They don't understand that tyranny doesn't understand boundaries. That's what makes them tyrants. So if you sit up and make it okay for cops to beat people upside the head and violate their civil rights, well, guess what? They're gonna start getting worse. It's gonna get worse and worse and worse. Tyrants don't just stop at abusing these people and not these others unless there's something stopping them. Like, these other people over here can fuck us up, so we won't mess with them. But the average poor working class white person, guess what? You're really not much more or not much less defenseless from these corrupt cops than the average working class blue collar black person. I mean, yeah, they'll target us, but at the end of the day, they know that, Bob the builder, you can't afford an attorney to come get your money back. This $2,000 cash that we just took from you, that you took out of the bank account to go buy a car part that you really need or some shit. Well, we don't give a fuck. We're going to take it. And guess what? We know that you don't really have what it takes to come get this money back. So, I mean, yeah, they'll get poor whites too. And that's what poor whites don't really understand, is that elite whites have used racism historically, especially in this country, time and time and time again, to get them to actually work against their interests. I actually came to this realization a while back. Somebody put it to me in a way that I didn't really see it from the Civil War. They got a bunch of poor, dirt-faced white men, unemployed, to fight and die for a system that was basically keeping them poor and unemployed. Because if I can buy an African and just keep breeding them, I don't need to pay and hire some white man to do a job for me. So that's why a lot of I'm like, wow, that really makes a lot of fucking sense. And that's why a lot of those poor white dudes in the South were unemployed and fucking poor.
Yeah. Yeah, but TVA, imagine if they had won the war. Where were they going to work at once they came back from the war?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, because they didn't have skills, right?
Yeah. So it's like, where were you going to? Okay, let's say that the South won. They coming back home. Those people who got money still got slaves. Where were you
Yeah,
gonna
that's
work?
true too. Yeah, that's true too. And you got no skills, and your legs blown off. I mean, yeah, you're idiots.
Yeah, and it's like they don't get it, and it's like we're not saying that admitting racism exists because for them, if it exists, then they're responsible for not doing anything for it existing. And so to evade the responsibility of not doing anything about it, they want to ignore it altogether as if it exists. And it's like, you can't do that.
I think a lot of poor white people still prefer the mental benefits that they get from their being white over linking with blacks. I mean, you look at historically. I don't like letting them off the hook. Poor whites and blue collar whites. A lot of people just say they're ignorant. They don't. No. Poor whites were just like black women with feminism. Poor white people were given a choice. Elite whites said, look, basically, you can either link up with those niggas and call yourselves fighting for labor rights and all this other bullshit, or you can come over here with us and help us keep those niggas in line, and we'll sprinkle some benefits down to you.
Yeah,
And
trickle down.
poor white people made a choice. Poor white people made a choice.
Yeah,
And they make
a
that
conscious
choice every day.
Yeah, but here's another thing. Like, we started finding out that most of those people wasn't quote unquote hardworking Americans. They was getting disability and Social Security. It's just that you didn't live anywhere near them, and they all went to the same doctor to get it. Well, they're complaining about working so hard, and it turns out all these people live in the same place, or else on that Homestead Act land, where they was getting trailers and all that kind of stuff and living in the same area. So it's like, look, once I left Mississippi, I understood that, hey man, the government's messing up everybody there. But people can't meet each other and trade ideas to the point to where they don't even know what's going on either side because they're dug out in their respective camps. And it's like, this is what's happening with black men in this space. They're so dug into the camp of trying to get this woman under control so that way they can be able to, have an easier time with them, that they don't even want to work with us towards something else. They don't even want to build their own power. They just want to focus on issues, wedge issues. That's why they're called wedge issues. And these wedge issues don't do anything for you. They don't.
No, they filibuster the time. They filibuster the time. So what they'll do, like we heard the other night or last night, you had somebody complaining about supposed trans using women's bathrooms. How is that a men's issue? How is that even a concern for you? Like, that has nothing to do with the overarching, bigger picture of your constituency. But that's what happens. And so,
sorry about that, Art. Sorry about that, man. I didn't know how long you were back there. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. And so those sort of wedge issues, have no relevance to anything overarching for the greater constituency. Go ahead. What's going on, Art? I didn't know you were back.
What's going on, y'all?
Sean, bro.
I was knocked out, man. But I was listening to a playback, and man, it turned out the way I thought it would.
Okay.
I think the most powerful part is that the arsonist, shout out to TVA. I think the most powerful part was that he kept pushing his data. It was like he was putting it in his face, and he was trying to move it out of the way, and he kept bringing it back. So I think that was the irrefutable. But I think that kind of stuff, man, needs to be is well needed. So they put the flashlight on who's saying what and who's ducking or whatever. So I mean, shout out to everybody that was part of the debate.
Appreciate that, Art, man. And shout out to you sending me the link the other day, man. I missed it, man. I was knocked out when you sent me the link. To be honest with you, bro. But I appreciate that. And he basically he kept trying to hit me from an angle. He kept trying to put me on this. I'm blaming the white man. Nobody's doing that. That's not what this is about. How do you come to that conclusion simply because I'm acknowledging something? The same source you can. He's going to the FBI for his source. I went to the FBI for mine. Because so you can't say it's not a credible source, right? So how do you say? How do you go from that to that? How do you say, okay, you're acknowledging police brutality, therefore you're blaming white people for all of black people's problems?
Mhm.
That makes no fucking sense, man.
Well, from what I looked at, I always notice, like when I'm like just in general, this is even in the professional arena. The one way where you can tell people are talking about you or just talking, around you is when you saying something actual in real time and they're responding to something that somebody said about you rather than talking about the points that's on the table. So the reason why I'm saying that is because you're talking about stuff that's on the table, and he's giving you other stuff like Chicago and and what was the other one?
Chicago
Abortion.
got nothing. What the hell Chicago got to do with what the fuck I was bringing up? Nothing.
So that's the part where where you can tell it's like, okay, well, he's not. And the thing is, he's not the only one. It's a lot. Even my dad does that, man. They go on some other stuff rather than what's on the table.
It
And
was going on spiritual logical. But yeah, I got an older brother who's just like this. And no matter what you say, it becomes a whataboutism, boom, Fox News talking point. Whataboutism, boom. And it's like what you say has to be drowned out by answer this question and answer that question and answer that question and solve this issue and solve that issue. And after you solve all these issues, then we can skip to your legitimate question. I'm like, no, we're having a specific conversation about a specific issue. We're not going to turn this shit into some whataboutism. Like in a real debate, they just would have stopped the debate. You lost. That's it. Yeah, man, you lost the debate.
yeah, but I enjoyed it, man. I mean, like I said, I enjoy it. I would just say, sensible back and forths. That was one of them. So shout out to Prophet of Thought for facilitating that. And
like I said, I mean, like there's a lot of debates. Well, I think he 100% won, but it's like this one right here. I'm like, bro, you got to stick to the topics that are being debated and not switch the ground to something else. I mean, because it's either whether it exists or not, and it's like you probably could have somebody who's white who would make it look even worse arguing village arsonist points. It would have looked worse on national TV. On national TV, a debate, they would have had to stop it. They were like, are we being punked? Are we being trolled?
No, but we saw that with the presidential debate where Chris Wallace was trying to calm Trump down and say, hey, this is what we're talking about. Give me a few more minutes. Like, or let me just say this. Like, no, it doesn't work that way, man.
He said, what about Antifa when they talking about the Proud Boys? I was like, okay. Tit for tat.
Well, that's the thing, right? The FBI investigated Antifa and said we found no such group, right? It's a movement, but it's not an actual legitimate organized group, right? Same thing with BLM. People want to say, well, BLM is a domestic terrorist organization, but they investigated BLM and didn't find anything. Or they investigated this black identity extremist thing that Jeff Sessions put out, and none of that ever came to fruition. And so people are grasping at straws because they have to, because they really are at a loss for their position.
Yeah, one of his coon buddies brought up black identity. I'm like, nigga, really?
All right, man.
Really,
All right, man. We got Mr. Fantastic on stream. What's going on, man?
Hey, yo, what up, man? Listen, I've been trying to avoid this shit like for a minute with MOT because, I mean, me and you cool, and it's just something that we are juxtaposed against. And for whatever reason, I don't know, you went on this whole Trump shit or whatever the fuck or whatnot, what have you. So I was like, hey, there's no real reason for me and you to go at it about this situation. But when you guys really look at this, bro, you guys are obsessed with like Trump and the white folks. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. To say that this would have been easy, Village Arsonist is a horrible debater. He used a very hold on.
Let's stick to the points of the debate. I mean.
Okay, well, no. I don't have to stick to the points of the debate. MOT. That's a very wait. MOT.
See, he does.
So what? So hold on. I don't have to stick to the points of the debate in the way he wants me to do it. I can stick to the points of the debate by showing you how his point makes no sense.
You don't stick to the points at fucking
Village Arsonist.
Again, listen. His premise is that racism is relevant and the problem today. My premise is no, it's not. So all I want to do is talk about everything that's more relevant than that and why it's not relevant. I don't have to discuss or debate his topic for him, which he did poorly. He brought up 2 points that had no relevance, bro. The source that he used was extremely weak. He gaslighted and said that it was about it was 2006. This dude's whole premise was prove my point. He's so obsessed with racism, and then furthermore, the biggest thing is he only talked about white people and racism. White people aren't the only people that are racist. Asians are racist. Hispanics are racist.
But they're not running the government.
Well, how are they not? Whoa. What you mean?
The Asians and the other so-called minorities not running the government.
Well, depending on where you are, because in Washington they run the whole government. What are you talking about? To the point of where you had to have. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me counter the point now. See, this is what I'm saying. See, y'all know I do this for real. So, are you just talking at the federal level? Because last time I checked, your local is far more important than the federal, right? Awkward silence.
No, it's not awkward. It's not awkward. It's just one of us gonna have to answer that. But MOT, please go ahead.
All right. So you have to understand universally who runs the government in most of these places. So when we keep trying to change the actual level of what's actually going on, like listen, we have all different types of organizations that protect against all levels of discrimination. In order for your point to be true, Mr. Fantastic, all those organizations will have to be disbanded because there's a track record of this problem no longer happening. Now, if that were to happen, you're 100% right. Then racism isn't a factor. Now, we're not saying that because a person doesn't have a specific outcome that racism exists. That's what's different about it.
Well, again, is the question if does racism exist or is racism relevant? Because again, racism will always exist. You're never going, and this is why I say you guys got into this whole thing of where you're Trump obsessed, and you guys turn into like these ultra liberals because you guys were going against Trump so hard, and you were sounding just like everything that was being said. But at the end of the day, can racism be eliminated? Yes or no?
Yes.
No, it cannot. And again, if you say that, you're insane. So hold on, MOT. I need MOT. Wait, hold on, MOT. I gotta get your answer on this because Mike B has said yes. So I need to get your answer on this, MOT. So MOT, are you in lockstep with Mike B and saying that racism can be eliminated?
Institutional or personal?
Either or.
Yes.
Institutional, yes.
No, it cannot.
Yes.
No, it cannot.
Yeah, I think it can be eliminated.
Racism is an ideology. You cannot stop any ideology. Adolf Hitler was the leader of the Nazi Party, and hold on. And even though the Nazi Party was defeated in an actual, named world conflict, Nazism still goes on to this day, bro.
It does not. Whoa! I spent 3 years in Germany. If you even say anything about the Nazi Party, they'll throw your ass in jail. No trial.
Okay. Well, hold on. Wait. Yeah. They're appealing. So what? You're proving my point. You're confirming my point.
No. I'm not confirming your point. I'm opposite of your point. No, I'm not. I've lived in Germany for 3 years. If you say anything about, if you fly swastika, you go on your ass to jail.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. So hold
they
on.
eliminated the problem of Nazism.
No, you didn't. You didn't eliminate the problem. You didn't eliminate the problem because again, it isn't just in Germany. You have Nazi parties that are celebrated worldwide, especially here in the United States of America.
But not in Germany. But not in Germany.
We're not talking about Germany. We're really talking about Germany anyway. Germany.
Now you just switched the basis of the argument
I didn't switch the basis of anything, but still, you still prove my point because yet again.
No, I'm not proving your point. I'm not proving your point.
Well, I can prove how you are. So what you're telling me is no one has ever suffered the penalties of promoting Nazism. That's what you're telling me.
In Germany? In Germany?
Yeah.
Okay, go Google it. It happens all the time.
So you prove my point.
I'm not proving your point. No,
you're
what are you talking about? Yeah, you keep missing.
Let me calm down. Hold on, let me calm down. MOC, let me calm down. Listen to me.
Germany has rid of racism institutionally.
Stop. Listen to me. You prove my point because
they've rooted it out.
Hold on, bro. Chill. Even though there's a penalty for it, MOT, the ideology is so strong that there are people still risking their freedom to practice it. So but
they're not in government. No, Mr. Fantastic. But they're not in government while doing it. Racism is only effective if you're doing it behind government power. Nobody cares about what somebody's racist inside their house.
So how
I'm talking about institutions.
So hold on. Yes. So how do you prove the lack of an ideology? Go.
Okay, you're trying to make me disprove a negative. I'm not going to do that.
You can't do it. It's not a negative.
Listen.
The lack of an ideology.
It's not even disproving a negative. Like, bro, I can't believe that y'all picked this weak ass argument and this guy to try and back up and thought I was gonna let it ride, but I'm just like, nah, man, no, this is just so weak, bro.
Okay,
y'all better than this,
Mr. Fantastic. I could find you 10 college professors who would play the debate and would tell you that you lost that debate within 5 minutes of it starting.
And I can find you 20 that would say otherwise. Better yet, 100.
Okay, fine.
We have a college professor on the panel right now, Art Newstall.
Okay, that's one of them. No disrespect to Art, but it is what it is. Art has his preconceptions, bro, about race and things, bro. Again, I know how this game go, bro. If y'all are saying this dude did good in this debate, this dude did not even once mention anything outside of white people, which was my whole premise, and he proved it. Again, there are other people that are racist at the governmental level, bro.
That wasn't the argument. You keep changing what the argument is. Singularly about
the debate. I do not have to argue the debate from his stance only. I can use a totally separate counter facts, counter things totally outside of his argument to make my point and disprove his, which is exactly what I did.
You are Magneto with the football stadium, or maybe that was baseball. Every time we're trying to nail you down on the point, you just whataboutism and just go off on something else.
It had nothing to do with whataboutism, man. Y'all watch it from the stands. Again, you guys have pre-biases because you guys have this thing that I'm a Trump supporter.
No.
You're calling me a conservative and all this shit when I'm clearly saying.
But those are the talking points that you're using. Those are talking points you're using, though.
Affiliation, bro. I don't claim a political affiliation, liberal, conservative, or anything. Just because I agree with some of the policies and the things that are currently working, that does not make me a conservative.
You're somewhere on the spectrum, dude. I mean, you're
somewhere on the spectrum. Proving my point, bro. You are obsessed with white folks, so anybody that goes against
I didn't say shit about white people, bro. I literally did not mention white people just now.
Yeah, man,
what are you talking about?
You're emotional, bro. You arguing about the white man. You still have yet to bring up any other race or person in racism.
So let's go back to
proving my point.
Let's go back to Fantastic's original point, which is reiterate your point, Fantastic, so we can get back to that.
My point is this, man. Listen, there are far too many other issues and problems with the black community before racism even comes up on the radar.
I can agree with that.
If you can agree with it, which you did during the debate is over. It is over.
I said it during the debate. The problem is you are saying racism is not a problem at all.
Bro, there is
Okay.
a level of precedence and importance. Again, a fucking
Okay.
a gnat
Mr. Fantastic.
on my ass, a gnat on my ass is 0.001% of the problem. Yes, it's a problem, but it's 0.0001%. So is it really?
Maybe that's why you call yourself BABJ.
Come on, bro, stop it. Stop.
Wait, hold on. We're not doing all that. All right. So, Mr. Fantastic, your point is, I'm just trying to make sure I'm getting your point correct, so don't think I'm trolling or any other shit.
No, you good.
So
I'm listening, bro. Go ahead.
All right. So what you're saying is that, for your specific point here, racism can exist, but we got so many other things to worry about that racism shouldn't even come up as a specific thing. I just want to.
It's not even a discussion, bro. It's not even enough. It's not even of a level of importance of where Black people should be discussing it compared to the other things that are far more detrimental at hand here currently for us to discuss it.
Even though the federal government is coming out saying that it's such a big problem that it's a national security issue.
Hold on.
So, having said that, can both of these things be right at the same time? Can there be all the issues in the Black community and there can be racism at the same time? Can it be both?
Both can exist, yeah, but can you say both of their problems? No, that's not the same. MOT, bro, MOTs. This is what you guys are trying to get me to say, man. And
No.
Let me flesh it out. Let me flesh it out. If I gave 10 things and this dude agreed with 5 out of the 10, so he wouldn't even make top 5. But
you're changing the basis of the argument again.
No. Listen to me. I'm not changing the basis of the argument. Listen, MOT, listen. I'm giving you that premise, bro, to fucking lay down the foundation as which that's the reason why it's not important or it's not relevant. I don't have to speak just completely from racism, this, racism, that. No, I can give you other things that are far more important than it.
I know. They're all what-about-isms that has nothing to do with the primary point.
MOT, if you went to the doctor or you went to the emergency room, bro, and you have several injuries, right? Is me bringing up you come to me telling me, hey man, I came in here, I've been coughing or whatever, what have you. I don't know what the hell's going on, so on and so forth. I can't stop this cough. All right, cool. Well, sir, you got a cough or whatever. It could just be this or it could be that, whatever. Okay, you came in for the cough, but we put your ass in the MRI and oh shit, sir, you have fucking stage 4 cancer. So the fact of the matter that I tell you, nigga, we don't need to say nothing about this goddamn cough. We need to get you immediately on the fucking treatment because you have stage 4 cancer. Is that whataboutism, or is that taking care of the problem that's really the most detrimental at hand? Which is it?
All right, so go ahead, Mike.
No,
he set up a whole entire thing that.
No, I have to give you an analogy that you guys are trying to use. I mean, you guys are trying to. You guys are basically trying to say my whole thing was irrelevant, which is bullshit. And which
you keep expanding the point beyond a certain thing. We're talking about a single solitary thing.
A certain thing. Again, listen, it's a level of importance. I can use this on several different scales and several different things. Bro, if we have certain, if my fucking house got a hole in the fucking front door, don't tell me complain about the fucking refrigerator door being open inside the house, bro. That's
changing the basis of the argument.
Because that's what whataboutism does. It changes the basis.
It does.
But it's not a whataboutism. It's not a whataboutism.
You talking about whataboutism? Okay.
It's a direct counter, and it's a direct counter of something that's far more important than the argument that the other person is using of something that's not important.
It's circular argument.
It's 2021. What can I say about racism? It exists, and it's bad. What more can I motherfucking say about racism? And again,
I want these people not to hold any type of federal power as long as they have their preconceived notions. Can we work towards that?
That is impossible because you do not know.
You don't want it to be possible because you can.
You do not know. Based on that action. Not know. And again, I know you. And then furthermore, again, you guys are going against your own because you elected one of the biggest historical racists in the history of the country.
Who elected him? Who elected him? Who voted?
Yeah, who elected him?
Well, the majority of Black people did. Let's just say that did. The majority. Well, again, TVA. Well, TVA. Who did you vote for, brother? Would you mind disclosing that for us? Did you vote?
What's
Yeah, but
my
that's
what?
another
What did I vote for?
whataboutism.
Another what about
It's
ism?
not a whataboutism.
Who did I
Again,
Like,
vote
do you
for?
keep
point.
doing it?
You know what, man? At the end of the day, man, listen, I understand what's going on here. Hey, we still cool. It is what it is. But for y'all to pick this flunky ass dude, bro, y'all gotta do better. One of you two guys, I can understand it, but y'all making bedfellows with this dude out of the strength of fucking like political
Bro,
ideology.
you're in your
Well,
feelings for
we're
real,
not
man.
on
You're
politically
in
on
your
the same
feelings for
side.
real,
We're
man.
not. Wait.
It is what it is, and it's cool.
Like
Like I said, I still
Fantastic, man.
respect you two, but
Look,
y'all
man.
gotta
You know,
do, y'all gotta send
we're
a better
not doing
flunky
the
than this,
actual insults on the panel. We're actually sticking to the arguments, so that way we can argue about the argument, not all this
you're
back
not
and forth.
sticking to the arguments because every time I
He
give you the
can't
argument,
do
you guys
that.
keep
He
trying to
cannot do that.
eliminate the
That's the
argument.
problem.
You keep trying to tell me how my argument that I made that was extremely well put together and just basic fucking debate tactic. I mean, it's
To
been
you,
plenty of people use the same. It's not
You
just me.
blaming the white man. You blaming the white. You
It's
just blaming the white man. So you never
TVA,
just blame
man.
the white
TVA,
man.
man.
Hold on,
TVA,
so
man.
it is
We're
what
not
it
doing
is.
that.
Yeah,
All
no,
right,
fantastic, fantastic. The point that we're just making is that he provided a substantial piece of evidence to the topic itself. I didn't, from an audience standpoint, I didn't hear that from you. I didn't hear you counter the cited source that he provided. So that's my reasoning as to why I voted for TVA in the debate, because he provided a source of substance to the topic itself that was
Mike,
not refuted.
okay, so Mike V, what was the substance that he provided in the source? Please tell me.
That racism is pervasive and is an ongoing issue and is actually the most prevalent issue right now.
Mike V, what was the title of the debate?
Is racism still relevant
Today, right? In 2021.
Yeah,
what did his source cite? What was his source? What was the information from?
It was from 2020.
No, it was not.
It's not from 2020?
No, it's from 2006.
No, that's 2006.
Yes, it is. No.
Please don't waste your time again, because I
all
did
due
this like
respect, all due
3 times
respect.
during the
Stop.
debate.
You
He
gotta
knows
click
what
the
he's
link.
doing.
Hold on,
He knows
stop.
what he's doing.
Did you click the link and did you guys actually click the link and go read
Yes,
it?
and if you do the date is at the very top of the link.
I'm not talking to you. Mike
TVA,
V,
drop the
MOT.
link in the chat, please.
Mike V and MOT, did you click the link? Again, the date that the information was done was in 2020, but it was a reference back to a 2006 survey that was done of unredacted information. It's simply at the same. And again, this is what I'm telling you guys. You're picking the wrong horse here, bro.
The argument.
The debate.
They do these reviews every year. Fantastic. They do these reviews every year.
Bro, again, okay, and again, the review that they gave from where? 2006. It was 2006 data. The other thing he gave was irrelevant to the topic. It was a 2017 Harvard study concerning.
It was a callback to the oldest data point that he used because it was doing like what he did was doing things between 2 Republican administrations while dodging the Democratic administration, so that way you just can't say it's
why would he dodge
it's the same problem.
Why would he
it's
dodge
the same
Democratic?
data point.
Why was he dodging Democratic?
Mr. Fantastic, you understand this makes this worse for you, right?
What I can tell you is this. He dodged the Democratic because if you go back and you look at it, you'll see more racism under the Obama administration than you had under the Republican. So
wait a minute. Did you just say racism? Hold on a second. Mr. Fantastic.
Okay, well,
let me admit that there was racism under Barack Obama, but it doesn't exist at all?
Oh, he will exist. It exists under certain circumstances.
No, well, again,
Biden is a racist too, by the way, according to him.
I'm gonna ask you again. What was the name of the debate title?
Is racism still relevant in 2021?
When was Barack Obama president? Not 2021. So again, thank you again.
Mr. Fantastic. Those people who actually got elected and became an actual law enforcement are probably still in law enforcement now.
Your keyword is probably. I asked your man, tell me the amount and the percentage of white supremacist police officers in the law enforcement system. And he couldn't tell.
We have enough to where the FBI took the time to do a report.
You don't know. Again, And then again, I'm going to use your own
We
thing.
have
One,
enough to where the FBI took the time to do a
one is
report,
more than
and
too
I
many,
just posted
right?
the link in
Did
chat.
you not say one is more than too many?
All right, man.
I'm just saying. I'm using his. We talking about debate text. I'm gonna use his words against him. He said that one is more than too many. So again, even if there's only one, that still gives validity to your point. But then, is that really enough for it to be a serious
Mr.
case?
Fantastic. Now you're running in circles, and this is.
I'm not running. I'm running in circles around you as I did earlier.
I'm posting the link, sir. I'm posting the link. September 29th, 2020 is the date on the report.
All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna plug up my laptop so that way we can be able to look at the article and read
You
exactly
clout chase me, and what I'm gonna need you to do, MOT, is click on that second hyperlink, brother, and then go back to the same 2006 article that he kept referring to.
Again, they referenced the 2006 article because the problem is still around.
You can't prove that. Prove it.
It says it in the fucking article.
Tell me how many white supremacist police officers are in the law enforcement system.
There are enough to where the FBI took the time to do a report
the same
on
FBI that had issues and problems with a fucking with the administration that they would.
Whataboutism.
The same FBI he got his statistics from. The same FBI you got your sources from, bro.
If we were having an argument about the military, I would bring up the same thing.
FBI you referenced for your data.
The same military that lied to the president about the presence of people on foreign soil.
Whataboutism.
It's not a whataboutism.
What about it? It is.
But again, man, you guys, you know what, bro? Again, like I said, you guys are so obsessed with this. I don't really know what you're really gonna have to talk about now that he's no longer the president. But where it in health?
No. That's not us.
It's always gonna be you, because again, you guys are in lockstep right now, and with the pom poms out heavy as hell for getting him out of office. Good, congratulations. But the shit that's going to happen to the black community,
you still in your feelings about? You still got your MAGA hat, bro.
Now let me say something, you guys.
We talked about the debt bubble popping, and
whataboutism.
Let me say something.
Whataboutism?
Man.
We're gonna see that get fucking
all this fear mongering, dude. All this fear mongering because Trump isn't in office.
If it's fear mongering, that's on Mike V. Because I'm just quoting what the black
on Mike V.
I came into this space.
Yeah, it's on.
It just is what it is, man.
Wait a second.
If you guys want to fucking top a weak ass horse, hey man, it is what it is. Still got love for you, still got respect for you guys, man. Y'all have at it, man. Congratulations.
But don't leave yet. Let me ask you this before you leave.
No, man, he left, man.
He already left, man. He already left.
Don't worry about it, Art. But
that man is almost 40 years old, by the way.
Let's keep it in context.
We're not going.
Let's keep it in context.
Let's keep it in context of the argument. So,
because he says Trump's out of office, and so on and so forth, and the black community is going to go to hell in a handbasket. Okay, all right, man. So, where's the evidence to support that? Right? You're saying all of these things, but there's really no evidence to support it. Art posted a really good article in the chat about how racism has impacted this country the last 20 years in terms of Citibank saying that $16 trillion racism has cost the United States $16 trillion over the last 20 years. And I'm not hearing any I'm not hearing a rebuttal to that. So to say that racism isn't the primary issue or isn't a prominent issue, what other issue are you seeing right now that supersedes that you can provide evidence to? I'm not seeing that. And so that's why I voted.
The problem is that he doesn't understand whataboutism, because that's the only card he had. Like, some professional has to sit down and tell him that you have to stay on topic. When you're talking about one specific topic, you can't just throw away the person's point, not provide your data point, and just keep going. And it's like, look, I fuck with the dude, but dude, you're dead wrong on this. You can line up anybody who would see this shit and they would say, you are conservative. Those are not original, independent thought. We can show you over on tape from the 70s where this shit comes from. From people who said it. We could turn on AM radio dial and we can watch black guy, if they're black, make all the same points. It's not hard. And every time, like, he doesn't understand that it's whataboutism if you change the basis of the argument. It's kind of like whenever you tried to talk about Trump, it became but Hillary, but Benghazi. Like, that's what's going on here.
Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, so it's like, look, if racism does not exist, where are your scholars telling you that? Because I can tell you this, there ain't no peer-reviewed article anywhere that's being published saying that that's not the case. And here's the thing, it doesn't make you weak to acknowledge an actual problem that's still out there. It does not.
Right.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him because that was an example. Okay, I really want to ask him. You know, when you come.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hey, man, in the chat, man, we still fuck with old boy. You know, man, we're not gonna be talking shit about people.
Fantastic, man.
No. I'm talking about people in the chat because, you know, we're not trying to have that type of situation over here. So I don't want to have to start timing people out and removing fucking comments. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is that, yes, the shit still exists. It does. And yes, you can get rid of institutional racism. They did the shit in Germany. I lived there for 3 fucking years. I watch motherfuckers who, because now they're using the Confederate flag rather than the Nazi symbol and shit. There ain't nobody flying no Nazi flag over there. There ain't nobody talking about some incendiary ass shit, even in government. They would throw your ass out of government in a heartbeat. And it's not proving his point by saying that. I'm telling you, I lived there, and yes, if you're a Nazi, guess where you're not at? Not in Germany, because they'll lock your ass up in a heartbeat. No, they don't fuck with that shit over there. And it's like, yes, if you make it a point, Man Friday, thanks for the $5 or 5 British pounds, maybe, super chat. And it's like, look, what we're saying is, you can't get rid of this shit if you make it a point to get rid of it. If you deny that the shit's even an issue, hell no, you're not going to be able to get away with it.
Right. And some of his buddies were in chat talking about, we got to fight it. Well, you don't want to even acknowledge it. You deny it's even against its problems. How the fuck? Again, it's just not making sense. Just rambling.
Yeah, due to real life solutions. Thanks for the $9.99. Great show. Week debate. Debater was exposed. Brilliance. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Plenty of racism on my job, but I need to check. Yes. So it's like, look, there's 2 things going on here. Yes, there's the issue, and whether you're willing to go far to remove it. For me, the answer is yes, and I want to remove these people, no matter what the situation or circumstance is, because I'm not going to sit here and put up with that shit. Because guess what? There are people in Mississippi right now in that small ass bank in the city. They have no credit unions like everywhere else, and anybody who has a bank account there cannot get a actual home loan for their actual loan if you live in a certain neighborhood over there, no matter how good your credit is. However, if you live on the other side of this highway, you get a loan, you still go through the process. Like I'm saying, dude, this stuff still exists, and they wouldn't have all these government departments on this shit if this shit wasn't a problem. And it's like, look, I actually want to get rid of this shit so this shit can be gone. Think about it. Remember that lady in actual Kentucky who actually won that seat because she wouldn't stamp IDs for the alphabet people in marriage and shit? Yes, that person used their government position to disenfranchise people. That is what I'm talking about. And guess what? She didn't. She had to do whatever, and she went back and ran and got thrown off. But it's like, this is the issue. It's like, I admit that this is an issue, and I want to get rid of it because I actually want to get rid of this issue. Can I change the hearts of people? Now to Mr. Fantastic's point, you can't change somebody's value system. But I don't want your value system showing up in government where you can mess up people's shit, right?
All areas of activity.
Yes. And that's all we're saying here. I'm saying yes, it exists. I'm saying yes, you can have tests. Yes, you can look at these people on a circumstantial basis. If you decided to be on some bias shit and something happens that you cannot justify doing, which seems to be happening all the time, which is like most of these people are not even slick when they're abusing government power and authority. They're pretty damn abusive and over the top with it. They always have been. All you have to do is look at the track record. It's really not that hard.
I produced an article showing that the federal government understands and acknowledges that we do, in fact, have a problem with people with these ideologies infiltrating government. Therefore,
okay.
I proved my point.
Okay, so let me make my Fantastic's point a lot further. Because now Mr. Fantastic has said, what's the percentage? That's not how it works. They acknowledge that the shit exists. Now you have to go even further than the actual report to find out what the percentage is. That report is whether it's there or not. That's what that shit was, whether it's there or not. Now, the next step is, how do we find data points to start tracking now that we know it exists? That's how the shit works. You just can't say, what's the percentage? What's the percentage is the next step in evolution of actually investigating the actual issue.
Well, because we don't know the percentage, so fuck it. It's not a problem because we don't know the percentage. You got to find out, man. It's like the fucking.
Yeah, so it's like, first is whether it exists or not. The second is how much of it exists once it's there. This isn't hard. And here's the thing. I want to get rid of this shit. I want any person, whether male or female, whether black or white, who's abusing government power in any type of way to be thrown out of office. I don't care. Because guess what? They hire a lot of these tokens and they do some of the same stuff. Under the behest of other people. Yes, they do.
Let me ask you guys this. What black person really enjoys talking about racism?
Well, you could just solve the problem.
Unless they're making money off of it, unless they're one of the race pimps on either the left or the right, then no.
The reason why I'm saying that is because the more you talk about it, it's going to always be something to where someone has to get out of a bad situation to a better situation. That's usually the narrative when you talk about racism. Then you have some other people on the other side trying to deny that it doesn't exist, so they won't have any kind of guilt. You know?
My God.
You know what I'm saying?
Read that. The irony that it's Black history. It's like, yeah. And it's like, look, especially in the defense industry, dude, they click up like a motherfucker. Especially when they see these Asians and these Latins getting these government contracts. They now want to do business with me and give the shit to me because I'm a minority and I've been there for a while. They're scared as shit because guess what? Them Asians don't hire nothing but Asians. Them Latins don't hire nothing but Latins. And they know that. So it's like, look, we can solve this issue. This issue is not that hard to solve, but if we keep perpetuating the nonsense that this doesn't exist because abortion's high, or this doesn't exist because black on black crime in Chicago, or this don't exist because we don't know the actual percentage, when the percentage was not part of the report was based on whether it exists or not what the percentage is. What the percentage is the next thing. We know that look, with all those people who showed up in the Capitol, we can't say that there isn't extremes around. We can't say that. And I'm shocked that this didn't happen under Obama.
Oh man, with the noose and everything, they probably had a noose there.
What I'm saying is, I'm invested in the process. I want to see it work out for everybody. That's why I try to learn as much as I can learn about it and try to bring the information to people. That's the way I'm seeing it, and that's the way I'm looking at it. And it's like, look, I want this stuff to work. So that way we can move on and be based on the content of the character shit. We're not going to be able to make it to the content of the character shit if we keep it not or ignoring specific things exist when they clearly do. That's all I'm saying. I have no problem with Mr. Fantastic, but you know, we're not gonna be doing this back and forth and trolling. Nah, man, I'm not with that shit.
And
It's like, look,
mhm.
it is a whataboutism. When you change the basis of the argument to not specifically stick to your point, it is a whataboutism. But it becomes a legitimate talking point because it allows you to be an expert in nearly all cases if you can change the topic of discussion on a whim.
You have
It's
to
not hard.
address. I have to address the preconceived comment. If you look at the definition, it's basically now. Let me see how you guys feel about this. It says it pretty much says that it's a formed opinion based on evidence to come up with your own truth. What was happening tonight?
Yes, exactly. What it was.
So I don't have that kind of outlook on things. I go by my whole thing is if I know if I know fat meat is greasy, I'm not gonna argue about it. You know, I'm not gonna try to convince you about it or say that's not grease, that's water. You know, I mean, I'm not going through that. So that's a mischaracterization. But yeah,
Yeah,
preconceived. Mhm.
you know, but we're not taking up arms for village arsonists. We're just like he provided a data point that couldn't be refuted, and the whataboutisms around the data point wasn't disproving the data point. It proved that he didn't have a point to present on his own. That's the only thing we're saying here, because the debate is around. He provided a data point. He pointed out the shit in the Military Times because the Military Times said the same shit. Fuck, during the Bush administration, they said the same shit. Every administration, they say the same shit because they do these actual studies every year. They don't do it because somebody asked. They track this shit on a yearly basis, especially at the Air Force Academy when that bullshit happened out there. They found out, well, they didn't find out. They just made it public that, yeah, this is a problem and we knew that it was a problem. Yeah. But it's like this, man. If we're going to be able to move forward on any topic and subject, we got to admit that the shit's real and then go tackle the shit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you gotta
I
call out
agree.
things what they
Makes
are.
sense to me.
You gotta call things out where they are. I mean, if you don't, then things are gonna keep being repeated. And that's the problem that we're having now. And
Well, actually,
mhm.
you know, look at this space, the manosphere. Jessica X show. You have women who literally go on her show and tell her that she's full of shit and that things are working fine in this environment for both people equitably. It's the same type of shit. So it's like if you don't realize the power and how you got it and what's going on, how you gonna be able to solve it? I want to solve the shit. That's why I'm talking about it. My point is, I want to point out a problem, come up with some rules in place to make sure that if you do some shit that you ain't supposed to under a specific type of circumstance, a data point, I want your ass locked up for the shit. Yes, if you're a police officer and the clientele is whatever, if you misuse your goddamn training in any way, I want your ass locked up for that shit. Fuck a union.
To the
Oh,
other question is, do people that talk about racism do they want it to continue?
oof.
I'm talking about black people.
No, I don't. But like a Larry Elder and like Jesse Jackson, they love this shit that it ain't going in. But I'm like this. It's kind of like the Benjamin Crump shit. If I could not see that guy talk at any press conference forever for fixing this police shit, I'd rather do that than keep hearing that dude's mouth.
Oh my god. The
Yeah.
ambulance chaser.
Oh yeah.
But he
No
gets
man, you know
paid, but he's still an ambulance chaser.
he just drop in, man. No matter where it's at in the country, this dude's always up in there. And it's like,
Or
fix this
give
fucking
him.
shit. I don't want to see this dude. And it's like, look, they could put Jesse Jackson and Sharpton out of business tomorrow. Only thing they got to do is believe in equal protection under the law and have competent people in there. And when you step out of line on some bullshit, you go to prison for it. It protects everybody. It's a level of protection for everybody. That's it. It's not hard.
But when you have an identity built on us being better than them and us being up here and them down here, and well, at least we're not being treated like them. That's where you get the whole to some people when you're privileged, equality is oppression. And I can agree with that. And some people, associate that statement to SJWs. And I get some people cry wolf, but there are legitimate cases of people's rights being violated. And again, if you call yourself a so-called constitutionalist, conservative, and all this other shit, then how the fuck are you not acknowledging these problems?
Yeah, but here's the other thing.
Again, we don't know percentages, but the FBI saw this as a big enough problem to do a damn report about it. I said that 50 million times.
But the report was not about percentages. The report was a yes or no hypothesis.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like this. Don't you want to get rid of the social justice warriors? Okay, if you want to get rid of the social justice warriors, just have equal protection under the fucking law. All the social justice warriors be fucking gone.
They don't want to do that.
But that's a good point. If you that's a Jerome. Hey Jesse, down Jerome. He said that dudes denying racism wanted to continue. And it's I mean, because what would you have to talk about if it dies out? If you're denying it.
Yeah, so it's like, look, I want to put Benjamin Crump and all these Save the Dolphin motherfuckers out of business. Why? Equal protection under the law and respect for everybody equally under the fucking law. That solves all problems. You don't have to worry about this shit if you remove the basis of the argument for which we're arguing, right? This is what, hey man, I want to fight the fight and take my ass to the crib. I ain't got time to be fighting for this shit for another 20-some fucking years, explaining to people, waving fucking Chinese flags about how fucking American they are. Man, I ain't got time for that shit. I rather like, look, you be on some bullshit, we're gonna lock your motherfucking ass up.
So, some people throw that coon word out there, right? I think we'll all be good coons if racism was gone. We'll find ways to even if it was going to where we weren't really having all these disparities happen to us, we'll talk about slavery never. We'd be the main ones that be denying of the bad past because we got past this stuff. But since this stuff is always in our face, you can't even avoid it.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. With that, it's just that I get where he's coming from because I used to be just like that. I have a brother who's currently like that who just got out. 20-some years in the fucking Navy. He's now in the real fucking world, and he thought that everybody gonna fuck with him because he was a goddamn, guy who played by the fucking rules. Now he's playing by the real fucking rules where there ain't no guaranteed fucking outcomes because you wanted the goddamn boys. Now you got to get out here and fight like everybody else. To him, it's oppression because he always got what he wanted, long as he kissed ass to fucking get it. And that's the type of shit that the military really fucks people up with because it's really not a real ideal fucking society. And I'm just speaking for my brother's case, not his case, but I'm just telling you. Like, I didn't even know that I wasn't a fucking conservative until I got out the fucking military and started dealing with the real fucking world. The real world? Oh man, did nobody give a fuck that I was a veteran or I served in the military or had a Clinton? None of that shit. I put on them civvies and that fucking sweatsuit. They treated my ass like I was from 5 Points and motherfucking MLK. They ain't give a fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to fix this shit. I want this shit to be academic like a motherfucker to my goddamn grandson if I live long enough to fucking see him. Oh, Pops, tell me how that shit was back then. Well, son, it was pretty fucked up, but guess what? We kind of got down and we got them motherfuckers up out of there.
Yeah, I love those stories that's the thing that we have stories about people fighting racism and winning and living a peaceful life. What's wrong with that? You know what I'm saying? Is that a bad thing?
My grandfather never fucking lived to see the day where a person can walk and go get a normal loan and build a fucking business. Never seen that day. Built the whole fucking city on one fucking leg and shit. Never got his fucking props. Never got his props. Died motherfucking damn near fucking broke on disability and shit. Because he could have been built a fucking business. All the fucking kids knew how to do carpentry and all this shit. I'm talking about aunts and fucking everything. Never could get a fucking loan. And depending on niggas to fucking pay you on time, ran his ass out of every fucking business he ever fucking did. Every single one of them. So that shit is for real.
Yeah, man. And you know, and just to put that out there, I rock with a whole bunch of you know, white associates, white friends, and I live about my day. So it's not that I'm sucking my thumb, looking at the blind, saying racism all day.
Oh hell no.
You know, it's just a portion of our reality here that we have to address and try to make better. Even though it's not even our system, it's not even our creation. You know what I'm saying? That's their shit. We just tangled in it because of our upbringings. Whether you what do you call them, Aboriginals or ADOS, whatever, you still weaved in this shit. So
yeah, and I'll have like American Indian friends who don't look American Indian at all. Routinely be like, nah, man, nah, man, you on some bullshit right now. I have like libertarian friends, especially libertarians. Libertarians are not gonna let you get away with saying that there ain't no fucking racism and shit, especially not the white ones.
yeah, that's why I roll with the old white people, man. You know, because I picked their brain. You know, I'm quite sure they had some really racist times when they were younger. You know, but since they're talking to a younger black person that they probably spit on back in the day,
Yeah,
you know, at least I'll be able to still have the dialogue without me. So if you're talking about being in your feelings, you're gonna be able to have these conversations with them. So I look at it more practical to where I can start saying, okay, well, how was it then? And blah, blah, blah. And they take that deep breath. Well, you know, those times weren't that good back then, but you know, they get into that whole old West type stuff. you
know, with that Ronald Reagan voice.
Right. Well, I'm glad you asked him, man. You know? I love talking with him, man. You know, and it's a trip because go ahead.
Yeah, the thing is, man, there's no beef between us and our camp and all that shit. It's just that if you're going to make an affirmation point that something doesn't exist, you have to prove the shit, especially when it's around everybody else but you. You have to prove that this shit gone and when did it leave. You can't change the basis of the argument. We'll look at all these other problems. I'm like, we're not looking at all those other problems. If we was talking about a black on black crime fucking argument, hey, I don't think black on black crime is an actual thing. I think a crime on crime, proximity crime problem is an actual thing. And I think the Asian on Asian crime rate is far higher than the black on black crime rate. Fuck the numbers.
Yeah, well, let's go back into the numbers though, because okay, if they have a larger population than us, but close into percentage, then yeah, their numbers are much higher. You know, way higher. You know, so that's the thing. I mean, I had that back and forth with someone before about that.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, well, not on YouTube, but you know, in my circle, where he was talking about the percentages of white people getting stopped by the police versus black people. And I'm like, even if it's the same percentage, you're still looking at population.
Oh yeah, like Art. I used to routinely take this guy home, but I used to go through these actual neighborhoods where I knew I would get pulled over. And one time I actually got pulled over for no fucking reason. This dude damn near got us both killed on the side of the fucking road. He was white, and he could not fucking believe that, even though he kept saying all this shit about, oh, it's all in your head and all this shit, all of a sudden the lights came on. This dude lost his shit. Damn near got us both killed on the side of the road. Like, dude, listen, I kept telling you that these motherfuckers can, and it was so good because the cop was rude as fuck for no reason. Because he kept saying that he couldn't believe that cops would be rude for no fucking reason, despite, until he witnessed it himself. Like I said, man, that motherfucker almost got us both killed on the side of the road. But yeah, it was so shattering to his fucking worldview that this shit was actually true, and he kept fucking denying live human beings who kept saying the shit, and he was beside himself.
Then they'll say that, okay, that's just a small percentage.
Nah, that dude. I mean, because
I heard it all.
It probably would. I mean, because it probably would have been okay if I wasn't there and he experienced it, but he never fucking told me. But it was that I knew that he kept saying this shit for years, And then all of a sudden, like, all right, man, here's the moment of fucking truth. And we got a rude motherfucker. I'm like, told you these motherfuckers be doing this shit. And you know, this motherfucker got out the car, walking up to the cop car. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
He's white. He's white. He's used to being able to do that shit. Just walk up to the cop car.
Like screaming at the cop and shit. I'm like, all right, man. So I'm gonna be in the car, and once y'all get done over there, you know, don't shoot through the windshield. You know, I'm just gonna be laying down until y'all, you know, you get that. Or else, you know, I could just sit in this back seat. You know, it's up to you.
Let's kick back.
Because it's kind of hard to get shot in the back seat with the actual fucking camera sticking in your fucking face while you sit in the back seat. I'm just saying, it's kind of hard. But that's where we are, man. And it's like, look, we got to get rid of this thinking, because this type of thinking makes us to the point to where we won't be able to change the shit. I don't want these motherfuckers being in government. If you don't believe in equal protection under the law and definitely ain't gonna fucking fight for it, fuck you. You'll never be in government.
It's a dangerous game.
Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Judges ruling on custody cases and life or death issues, and they got all this shit floating around their fucking head, and you can't see on an actual one-to-one basis that this is what this person believes. I'm like, yes, I want to get rid of this shit. Yes, I want to get rid of these motherfuckers out of government. Do I want to fix them as people? No. But I definitely want to stop you from being school administrators and hiding behind government power where you can really make this shit fucked up for people.
And think about this, man, because we're in vulnerable positions. You know, we have to rely on racist judges, racist lawyers, racist doctors, racist cops. We have to rely on them. I'm not saying we have to, but this is slim pickings was what I'm saying. And that's why I kept pushing the whole thing about, you know, making sure that you encourage the young to be more educated and to be more into these positions like you, MOT, and everybody else that be able to call their own shots and put people on that deserve it, rather than people that's being discriminated by.
Hey, man, because here's the thing, man. Once you are all the way fucking involved and you know how this shit works and you know you're being bullshitted, it's nothing like motherfucker telling the motherfucker what's up. And you know, they know you know what's up,
Bruh.
And they really ain't got shit to say. Oh, man.
Yeah. I chilled out, you know, but I used to, man. I used to call things out a lot, but you got to pick your battles now.
Oh,
because,
yeah, no doubt.
Because some things things just haven't changed. It just probably have a different name and a different face, but the whole operation is still the same. So
it's still based on the same preconceived unsolved problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's still the same, and it's like this. A lot of people are saying, if you just ignore it, it'll go away.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. If you deny it exists, it'll no longer affect you. I'm like,
yeah, old adage.
And it's like, look, this isn't about disagreement. We stuck to the points. We're not trying to troll or any of that other shit. And it's like, look, especially when you see like that cop barrel roll into the scene and slamming the child to the ground. I think it was about 4 years ago. The cops were called at a pool party or some shit.
Yeah,
and you had like this
I remember that
Rambo motherfucker. Yeah. And I'm like, you really fucking think he would have fucking did that shit to a white kid?
Yeah, that neighbor would have been all on it if it was a white kid.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, it's not weak to say, and I don't think it's a training issue. It's a use of force issue. A use of force against a specific clientele that they knew they can get away with shit with.
Let's go with the medical profession. Remember how they diagnose people and how they give you prescriptions? They said based on the average doctor, I don't have that data, but I can get it. They're saying that the average doctor would always think that a black person is very tolerant to pain. So they prescribe you a medication. you know, and this is the medical profession. These are people that's supposed to help you in your health. Okay, and that wasn't too long ago. That report wasn't too long ago. It was like maybe what 3 years ago that I heard.
Yeah.
I haven't heard an updated one, but that's something to think about.
Yeah, and Jerome, and that's why I want to keep it on the topic of discussion, because it's hard to. I mean, it's easy to get going down all these lanes and roads. Once you're not sticking to the topic of discussion, it leaves a lot of room for that shit to happen. But once you stay on the topic and the subject, and you, because the basis of the argument is changing the actual frame of the argument when it's convenient. But if you can't do that, then you don't have an argument. This shit does exist. Hell, Tate in Mississippi will tell you that racism exists in Mississippi.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't forget it. You know, that's just where we at, man. No, I want to thank everybody for coming through. Let me any last words, Art?
Yeah, still you know, give me till tomorrow to see whether or not, I mean, you guys going to be free tomorrow for our Black Forum for labor?
Yes. But we agree on labor. Oh, fuck it. You know, I mean, for me, I'm a strong labor advocate. I really don't give a, even though I own a business, I don't give a fuck about corporate America like that. I don't think the motherfucker need like bailouts or. To me personally, I don't think that we have an illegal immigration problem. I think we have an illegal employer problem. I think that whenever you catch these immigrants on the fucking job site, you just go start snatching motherfuckers off yachts and throwing them in prison.
Yeah, because we don't touching the prison labor too. We don't touching all that. But yeah, I want, but it's not gonna be too long because I'm thinking about 3 Pacific time, so I can keep it an hour or so.
Yeah.
And I'll send y'all the information in the email.
Because it's important for them to see, or people to see us actually agreeing on shit and moving forward, not just coming at each other. I mean, because, you know, anybody can come at each other on some bullshit. However, we still got to show some patterns of growth within the actual space. The
way I value disagreement is you're pointing out something that I overlooked. That's how I value it. But if it's just when you on some contrarian stuff, and I got no time for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, because, you know, anybody can devil's advocate their way through shit, and it's just another form of trolling. The glorious one. Question to the panel: do you, Darwinistic thinking has an effect on these issues? Yes, it does. It is. I mean, you know, it's kind of a survival of the fittest type thing, but survival of the fittest doesn't have anything to do with specific government services that are supposed to work a specific way without the survival of the fittest in there.
Yeah.
Because the War Department is supposed to be the War Department. Nobody wouldn't want anybody from the War Department being able to shoot somebody without a fucking trial, even though that they're a public servant. But they want cops to do it. Like, get the fuck out of here.
But I appreciate you having me up, man. I'm gonna go ahead and finish my homework. That's what I've been doing. Right. I'm up here writing and typing as I'm bull crapping with you guys. So.
Oh, nice. All right, cool. All right, man. Thanks for coming through. Those options. Got anything else before we get up out of here?
Thank you, guys.
No, man. I just appreciate you having me on again. I appreciate you dropping through on the debate, man. I really value your opinion. You know, if you have any tips on how I can improve my debate skills or whatever, you know, I enjoy debating. But just when it gets to the trolling and shit, that's when I kind of got to get out of it, man.
And I'm gonna send you arsonist. I'm gonna send you something tomorrow, so be on the lookout for on your email.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. But it's like, to be quite honest, I've never seen somebody just stick to the fucking point. Because I used to get so mad at motherfucking David Monroe that I wanted to rip this motherfucker's head off and fucking I couldn't stand the shit. And when I came very close to losing the debate, that's when I had to stop going on there, because it was no longer about the information. It was about the guy showing up, had nothing, all whataboutisms, all denying reality, and doing all this shit. It's just another form of fucking trolling. That's all it is. It's the Gish-Gallop fallacy. You need to look that up. Hold on, let me put that in the actual chat. So that way you could be able to look it up on YouTube and see it actually happen real time. Because it is a whataboutism. And every time you talk, it's still dragging the conversation on to somewhere else.
Right.
Like I said. And it's like, look, facts ain't got shit to do with ego. I mean, ego is something else. The point is, you couldn't refute the fucking information, and you kept trying to change the basis of the argument to all these other data points that had nothing to do specifically with the other shit. Now, look, you may think Fantastic has won. That's fine. What I want to see is I want to see some debate analysis by playing the video to show me how he won.
I think it's more of a popularity contest more than anything else, and that's cool.
It is.
I'm not there for a trophy or anything like that. You know, I had fun. It was cool.
No, it's cool, man. It's just at the end of the day that this should be the last time that this happens within this space. It's not going to be because it's too easy to do. Oh shit! It's Gish, G-I-S-H, Gallop fallacy. Look that up so that way you can see how conversations get derailed. You see this Gish-Gallop fallacy during like debates between creationists and people who believe in not people who believe in evolution is a proven fact, but people who are creationists who say the world is less than 5,000 years old. It's the same tactic of how they go into a conversation and then they reverse the burden of proof, even though the burden of proof is on them, and they just stick to the point, stick to the point, stick to the point, and everything is just throwing mud. So, yeah. So I want to thank you guys for coming through. VA, Art, Mike, I think it was Renaissance Man for a little while, and Mr. Fantastic. Again, I want us to get better at these things. So that way, Sir Obadiah, man, I don't even fuck with Flat Earthers, man. They got this shit. Nope. Because otherwise, you know, you don't see satellites circling above somebody's head. It's actually revolving around the goddamn Earth. And you can only have a certain type of coverage unless you have multiple satellites in the sky. I know I used to synchronize them from the actual ground to the actual sky. And that's some hard ass fucking work. Pays a lot of money, but it's some hard ass fucking work. So I want to thank you guys for coming out. I'm the man tomorrow. This is the analysis from the Village Arsonist versus Mr. Fantastic. And yeah, the shit does exist. I want it to end. You can't fix the Wacky World. Sorry. Yeah, he was on the panel too. So it's like, look, I want this shit to end, and I'm willing to do something about the shit. Because the shit is indefensible. I want to thank you guys for coming through, and you guys have a really nice day. Be safe out there.